Hello, everybody. I am Mel Barrett, and welcome to Something's Off, a true crime podcast where we question everything and anything. I am back in my pod. I'm back from Rehoboth Beach, and we're talking today. It's a doozy. We're going to talk today about the Lindsay Clancy trial. We had a hostile witness, a Jen McCabe-esque witness on the stand yesterday. So this was yesterday's trial day. I'm going to be covering today's trial day tomorrow with my friend Sarah Carradine. But we're going to get into what happened yesterday right after a quick break. Good morning, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, allegedly. I'm Smile.
Happy Monday, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie. Happy gay summer, Mel.
Happy hump day, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm not humping anybody. I'm Rebecca Lavoie.
Happy Saturday, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
Oh, no.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and my mic is muted.
Good morning, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and that's Briscoe.
And welcome to Something's Off, a true crime podcast where we swat the haters aside with our astute takes and humor and joy. And
the joylessness
I don't give
of those
a fucking
people.
miss.
Hags.
You hear it first in the break in the story. One little crack and the whole thing gets wary. A witness swears but the timeline bends. A smile too smooth and the trail just ends. Mel Barrett says, hold up, look again. Rebecca Lavoie follows every thread. If it feels too neat, then it's not the truth. There's a shadow line running through the room. Something's off, something's off. You can feel it in the bones. Something's off, something's off. When the facts won't come home. Something's off, something's off. And the case won't stay in place. Something's off. We're the ones who chase.
We're gonna go members only.
Yeah, we're the ones who chase. Wait, did that witness just blink 3 times? Something's off. Something's off.
Something's off. All right. Whoa. Okay. So I am still here solo, back in the pod. My Rebecca is on vacation. I skipped away to the beach for a couple of days with, as I've told you guys, 6 17-year-old girls. It was really smooth, I have to say. It went really well. They were there for a couple of days with us, and then Lindsay and I stayed on for a couple of days and relaxed a little bit, although I was still working. She was still working. We had a pretty big day yesterday. I had Emily C. on the show, and we were breaking down some of the FOIA and Find Out docs, and then I got her thoughts a little bit on Lindsay Clancy, but it was a great show. We were on for like 3 hours yesterday. So I will not be on as long as that today, right now. But I will be coming back. So you will get to see me for those 3 hours plus, because once I'm done with this show, we're going to have a couple hour break. And then at 7 p.m., if you are a member of this channel, which I hope you are, because it's worth it, I'm going to have Ellen Marie Marsh from I Think Not and Shut the Fuck Up Nick Lachey and The Rundown on with me for a special members only. It's not going to be a cross roast, but it is going to be true crime and hot goss, everything you could ever possibly want out of a members only. I assume that we're going to talk a little bit about Ellen's theory of Whitney Houston. And now that Clive is dead, we're going to probably talk about that. We're going to talk about Karen Reed. We are going to talk about Lindsay Clancy, and we're going to talk about whatever's on her mind. And I'm hoping she takes a gummy before she comes on, because she's pretty funny when she's had a gummy. I do not have any gummies, but it's probably a good thing, because somebody's got to be the adult in the room here. And that's going to have to be me tonight. So anyway, for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to recap day 5 of Lindsay Clancy. Just you and me in the chat. And then at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, coming back with Ellen. Tomorrow, I'll be coming on at 4 p.m. So it'll be after the day in court. But we will be recapping what happened today in court tomorrow. And I'll be doing that with Sarah Carradine from Crime Scene Pod, who I love. Oh my God. Oh my God. Rachel. Okay, hold on a second, Rachel. This is crazy. Okay, hold on. And then Friday, so Sarah Carradine tomorrow at 4 p.m. to recap day 6 of the Lindsay Clancy case. Friday at noon, I'll be here with Jimmy. And Jimmy and I are just gonna have a gay old time. Saturday, Emily C., who was on yesterday, is doing a fundraiser for Adam Deitch. And I hear I'm going to be doing the fundraiser with her. And I hear that my hour is going to be with Jimmy as well. So it's going to be back to back Mel and Jimmy, Friday and Saturday. Oh, thanks, blankets, Botox, baked goods. You and Emily were so great. I had such a blast with them. We could have gone on for many more hours, but I had to pee and then also go back to the beach. So anyway, here we are. If you like us, don't forget to like us. Our subscriptions are moving up. We're getting close to 11,000 subs. And like I mentioned before, the membership is well worth it. The lower level is $2.99. The higher level is $5.99. For the lower level, you get a members only once a week. It's usually Cross Roast, where I make Rebecca have secondhand embarrassment by going through cringeworthy testimony in the Karen Reed trials and other things. She's usually, a little toasty after drinking her frosé, and we have a good time. That's a lot of fun, and that's open to all members. My glasses are weird. And then we also do a pop culture stream once a month. We try to do at least once a month. I think we're probably going to be doing a little bit more members only content in the next couple of months. But yeah, the $2.99 and $5.99, you really can't beat it. And of course, if you like what we do here and you appreciate the work that we do, please don't forget to tip your servers. You can do Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. Everything's listed at the top of the screen. It's also pinned in the chat. And speaking of Rachel, oh my God, the generosity, you guys, your generosity astounds me. Rachel, where did it go? Rachel just tipped us. Oh, there it is. Rachel tipped $227. If you know, you know. Thanks for keeping us entertained this week, despite missing your trusty co-conspirator. I do miss my Rebecca, but I mean, Rachel, that is, wow. I'm almost speechless. 227. That's amazing. Thank you so much. The generosity astounds me. You guys are the very best. And if you are not a member, check out what the members in the chat are saying, because a lot of them are talking about Cross Roast. Cross Roasts are my favorite day of the week, and for a month for $2.99 is absolutely bonkers value. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, we underestimated ourselves in the beginning. But here we are, and we love doing our Cross Roasts, so we're going to do those usually every Monday night. And let's see. Oh, Rachel. So blankets, Botox, baked goods is Rachel. You are lovely. Thank you so much. And I try to do the same when I can pass it on. That's why yesterday I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take whatever tips I make today, whatever tips you guys send in, and I'm going to give half of them to Emily while she was on yesterday. And it was so lovely. You guys were I was able to send her $110 in half my tips. And, she can put that toward new FOIAs, because like we talked about yesterday, the juicier the FOIA is, the more expensive they make it, because they don't want you to have it. So if they can have a little, bank of money ready for anytime someone needs a FOIA, I want them to have that. And so it was really nice to be able to to pay that forward yesterday. So I appreciate y'all for tipping and helping me give some money to the FOIA and find out peeps. Yeah, 227 is the time Jen searched for How Long to Die in the Snow. Yep, that is true. That's what the 227 means. If you know, you know. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Again, this is how I've been sort of protecting myself and protecting the audience. I don't go through all of the direct testimony of the prosecution witnesses, because oftentimes they're detailing what happened to the children. And I don't think that that's what this trial is about. And honestly, I don't think the defense thinks that that's what this trial is about, because more often than not, I think across the board at this point, Kevin Reddington, who is Lindsay Clancy's attorney, has not cross-examined any witnesses who are giving testimony about the children. He only talks to the witnesses about Lindsay and her, what she was going through that night and what she was going through after that night. So anytime there's a witness, so for instance, I'll give you the summary of the testimony, but I'm not going to go through the testimony of witnesses who are just detailing what happened to these poor children. So let me get this all set up for y'all. I've got it at 1.25. Let me know if I can go a little bit faster, or if it's too fast for you. I have a tendency to talk fast, so you guys can tell me to slow down too, and I'll try. Yeah, I always, that's why I made, so Science and Sass, I love how Rebecca's photo is visible on the right. It's a silent call to her presence. That's why I put that where I did, because I felt weird having my face twice. But that's our little something's off poster board, and I like having Rebecca as my good angel. Although she's not. That's not what she would be in real life, but okay. So, summary for this very first witness yesterday, the day 5 of Lindsay's trial, August 3rd, 2026. The first guy that was on the stand was Dr. Michael Snyder. He's an ER physician from Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And he testified. He was the attending physician who received Cora, who was the oldest child. And he, took notes of what her physical appearance looked like. I'm not going to get into it because it's very graphic and horrible. And of course, Kevin Reddington asked no questions, no cross-examination on this. There was a lot of, we'll get into this tomorrow, but there were some stipulations made, and Lindsay Clancy actually spoke in court today, which I find very interesting, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But at this point, Reddington gets annoyed every time the prosecution goes through the motions of what they're supposed to do, the procedure in court, where they want to admit, a picture of the children into evidence. And the prosecutor, either of the attorneys, before they can admit it, they have to show it to the other attorney. The other attorney has to say no objection or I object. Kevin Reddington has stood up several times and said, I do not need to see anything that they're handing me. I have already stipulated to what they're handing me is fact, but she keeps trying to do it. And he's getting increasingly frustrated. And I think that might be the goal. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Okay. On to the next witness. I'm only going to show you these guys' faces. I'm not going to have you listen to them because they are, again, like I said, for the children, testifying about the children and the children's injuries, and I am not putting anybody through that. So let's get to the next witness, which is this guy. And this guy is, I just want you to be able to see his face. Okay, that's good enough. This guy is David Cassavant. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's an ICU physician at Boston Children's Hospital. And he took over Callan's care, and Callan was the baby. And I'm not going to go through what he testified to because it is actually not relevant. We know what happened to the kids, and Lindsay has admitted to what she did, and that's not what this is about. So again, if you're watching this for the first time or you're new to the channel and you're wondering why I'm doing this, it is to protect my audience and myself. I will not be going over or detailing any of the children's injuries or anyone who testifies to their injuries. Reddington did not cross-examine Dr. David. The next witness, however, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That wasn't Dr. David. Sorry. I skipped ahead. That was Dr. Andrew Caparo. He still was, he's a pediatric emergency physician at Boston Children's. And the next witness was David Cassavant. They both took care of Callan. And so having back-to-back witnesses talk about what happened to this poor baby in detail, there was no reason for it. It's just to play on the emotions of the jury, and I'm not down with that. So this guy was really demonstrative. I'm not going to play his testimony because he's talking about Callan, but he like the whole time he was testifying, he was like, showing you how to do things and blah, blah, blah. And like his hands were really, he was a very active witness. And Reddington did not question him. Okay, this is the witness I think we've all been waiting for. Let me get to Kelly. Dr. Kelly. She's an interesting witness. I don't know what her deal is, why she's so angry. People have posited online that it has something to do with the fact that Lindsay is suing the hospital she works for, South Shore, in her civil suit. So it might be that. That might be why she's so hostile. She was more hostile to Kevin Reddington, but she was still kind of like bitchy. I don't know. I hate the word bitchy. Let's say she was cunty. She was kind of cunty to the prosecution, and like she was, an equal opportunity asshole. And I don't know why. I have no idea why, but this doctor should not be testifying in a trial if she can't recall what's in her papers. Like in all the papers that she filled out, she is asked, did you review your records before you testified? And she said yes. So if she just reviewed her records, then she should know more of this information. And I will say, she's not the only witness that does this. There's another witness later on in the day who seems wholly misplaced. Like, why is this person here? We'll get to her later, but it's a lot more of, I don't recall. It happens a lot on the defense side. And to me, that feels like these are a bunch of prescribers and doctors who are really pissed off that there's a medical malpractice suit against them for what happened with Lindsay and her kids. And that's the only thing I can take from it. I will also say this woman has a physical disability. She has what looks like to me no arm or hand below, like, say, mid forearm on her left hand, I think it is. And I don't know anything about that. So please, I also don't feel like we need to discuss that here. It doesn't have anything to do with what she's doing on the stand. But I just want to bring it up so it's not a shock to anybody. But she does not have a lower extremity on her left side, I believe it is. And Venus Blue Cupcake says, hit that like, everybody. I appreciate you saying that. We got 260 people in here right now. So if everybody could go like, I would really appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Okay. So let's have Kelly. I'm going to tell you who Kelly is first, and then we'll get into it. I'm not going to go through the full. Will I go through? Let's see. It's going to be like a half an hour of testimony. I'll tell you what she testified to, and I want you to have a look at her, and then we're going to go into the cross-examination because I think that's where the meat of it is. Okay. So Kelly is an ER physician at South Shore. She testified to treating Lindsay upon her arrival as a trauma 1 patient. Now, the hospital she was at only handles trauma 2. Trauma 1 is a worse case. And so they had to actually med flight her out, Lindsay out to a different hospital. She described, the prosecution finally got it in from some of their, I wouldn't call them experts, but these are, they are experts in their field, but they're testifying also as witnesses in this case because they treated Lindsay. And she got the prosecutors, Sprague and oh God, I can never remember Bo, the one with the bow in her head. Damn, I'll think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. They were able to get some of these witnesses to say that the lacerations on Lindsay's neck and on her wrists were superficial. Now, I've seen the pictures, and if that's what they think, that's what they call superficial, that's a lot. I can't imagine what somebody, actually, I won't describe what they look like because that might bother some people, but I've seen the pictures. Some of you may have watched the trial and may have seen the pictures. Buckingham, thank you, Pamela. Buckingham is the other prosecutor. She's the one with the bow. Some of you may have seen these pictures. They didn't look superficial to me. What it looked like to me was she was unable to do that to herself. And so she chose a different way to unalive herself, that where she wouldn't have as much of a physical choice in the matter. Oh yeah, Midwest Granny says she reminds me of False Memory Dever, but also gives Jen McAfee vibes. That's really funny. She did, yeah. She reminded me of Dever too. That's interesting. She's a good cross between Dever and Jen McCabe, honestly. I know that superficial is a medical term, different than colloquial. I get that, despite the look on my face, but the fact that they're trying to push this narrative that she faked her unaliving or her attempted unaliving is obnoxious to me, and they keep trying to get the word superficial in there, and it's stupid in my opinion. But so Dr. Kelly McDonough described superficial lacerations to Lindsay's neck and wrist that did not require acute surgical intervention or strike major arteries. She noted CT scan showed spine fractures, thoracic spine, but no intracranial bleeding, skull fractures, or brain herniation. So that's what they got out on the direct. I am going to take you to the cross. Hold on a sec. Give me just a second. As Melanie Little says, hold please. Hold please. These are pictures of bad things that we don't want to look at. And okay, we're still on with, okay, here we go.
Mr. Reddington.
Morning. So would you agree with me that when Lindsay was brought into the South Shore Hospital that she was unconscious?
I recall her eyes being open, but she was nonverbal.
Okay. So as an experienced emergency room doctor, can you tell me when someone's unconscious, what is that? What are the symptomology of it? What does that mean?
Usually means they're completely unresponsive with eyes closed.
Okay. Was she responsive?
Not verbally.
Was she responsive at all?
She was responsive to pain.
So that means that you would do something to cause pain, perhaps the bottom of the foot or whatever it is, to see if they have a reaction.
Correct.
And would you agree with me that when people even have very, very
Correct.
serious brain
Correct.
injuries, that they can respond to pain stimuli?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So her eyes were open. Were her pupils equal and reactive to light?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. What does it mean with PERL, pupils equal reactive?
How does an ER physician not recall if her eyes were reactive to light? Very strange testimony right off the bat. I almost feel like I should go back a little bit and just show you the difference. Let's do that. Before we get into this cross, let me show you a little bit of the difference between, I just don't want to get any pictures on the screen. Okay, so this is prosecution. She's smiley with her. Oh, God, Buckingham, this stupid bow.
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
And what was the extent of the result from the chest CT?
So it talks about her thoracic spine injuries.
Okay.
She gives way more information on direct.
Now, after reviewing all of the images, all of the CT scans that were done here, the cervical spine, the head CTs, the thoracic spine, what was the plan for this particular patient? Was she able to be treated further at South Shore Hospital?
The decision was made by the team that her injuries were too severe to stay at South Shore Hospital, and the decision was made to transfer her to a tertiary care center.
Were you able to stabilize her before transporting?
Yes.
Is that something that's important to make sure our patient is stable before sending him off in the ambulance or helicopter?
Yes.
And so as far as this particular patient goes,
Okay, so you guys have a pretty good idea. She has no problems explaining how they made the decision to transfer her out as a team, answering all the questions, yada, yada. And then Reddington gets up and immediately, right off the bat, I don't recall. It's very strange. And I understand. I mean, it didn't get to the point of actual hostile witness, but she was kind of a hostile witness. Okay, so we're going to watch this cross-examination because I find it fascinating. I'm going to try not to interrupt too much.
Reactive to light. What does that mean?
Exactly what you just said. It means her pupils are equal and reactive to light.
And as a doctor, what does that tell you?
Conti.
It tells me that there's no significant neurologic injury.
And in this case, you don't recall if her pupils were equal or reactive to light?
I don't.
And that's when you take the little flashlight sometimes and you put it over the eye and see if there's constriction of the pupil.
Correct.
Did you do additional evaluations of her to see what her neurological function was?
She was pretty quickly intubated from what I recall. So after that, it would be difficult to assess her neurologically.
Sure. Was she on any pain medication, if you remember?
I don't remember.
You recall, did she have difficulty being intubated? I mean, would you agree with me that if you're not under some type of medication or sedation or unconscious, it hurts to be intubated, doesn't it?
We wouldn't intubate somebody without first giving them some induction medicines.
Okay. So what would the induction medicines be?
They're not universal.
Well,
It would depend on the
what are the
case.
induction medicines that you used on Lindsay Clancy?
I don't know. I'd have to refer to my record. And also, I wasn't the one who did the intubation.
So she was
Wow.
intubated, had the tube coming out of her mouth. She's laying on the table, and you are continuing an assessment. You were the lead doctor in the emergency room for Lindsay Clancy, right?
I wouldn't say I was the lead. I think the trauma surgeon and I worked together.
Right. Her temperature, her core body temperature was 82 degrees. Is that right?
If that's what the record states, then yes.
I'm sorry?
If that's what her medical record states, then
Well,
yes.
as you sit here, you don't know what her core body temperature was?
I saw her 3 years ago. I see about 200 patients a
I'm
month.
sure you're very busy,
Wow.
but this is a murder trial, doctor. Did you review your records and your notes?
I'm happy to look at my record if you bring it
Did
here.
you review your records and notes before you came in here today to testify on this case?
Sir, I did, but I don't have a photographic memory.
Did she regain consciousness at all while she was in your emergency room?
Sorry, my mic was muted. Guys, why is she being this combative? Like, oh, look at the picture behind Lindsay on this. That's her and Patrick on their wedding day. That's sad. Why is she being so combative? Why can't she just answer a simple question? I know what Lindsay's body temperature was. And it's very interesting because her body temperature was the exact same as John O'Keefe's body temperature, and he was supposedly laying out in the snow for like 4 or 5 hours longer than she was. So I find it very interesting that her body temperature was 82 degrees when they brought her into the hospital, and so was John O'Keefe's. But that's a whole other day. That's a whole other conversation. But the fact that I know that her body temperature was 82 degrees, why doesn't this physician know that? Come on. This is crazy. I don't. She was either advised by a lawyer. Yeah, she does seem disgusted, Cassandra. I agree with that. She was either advised by a lawyer to be like, do not answer anything the defense asks you unless you can look at the record yourself and have your memory refreshed in court or something. One of the other things I don't understand is why Reddington is choosing not to refresh her memory. That's the other thing. I don't know if that's a tactic he uses or what, or if he's trying to show the jury that these people were being combative. I'm not really sure. I really cannot put my finger on it. I'd love your feedback as to why you think she's acting the way she is, because it seems kind of crazy, but here we go.
No.
Can you tell me what CSF is?
Cerebrospinal fluid?
Yeah. So what that is?
It could
CSF?
be. I'm not sure in what context you're referring to it.
Well, how about if there's a massive leakage of CSF from her nose? What does that tell you as a doctor?
It could mean that there's a skull fracture.
Did you notice any clear fluid coming from her nose?
I did not.
Is that something you would look for?
Yes.
How quickly do you get the results of the x-rays when you're in the emergency room?
Well, these were CT scans, but fairly quickly in a trauma.
I'm sorry, CT scans, x-rays. So you had CT scans that were able to show you the damage to her neck and upper chest. Is that right?
Yes.
And what did those CT scans show you?
Well, what I remember is a thoracic spine injury.
And when you say a thoracic spine injury, would you agree that the top part of your neck, your throat area would be cervical, right?
Correct.
And that's when the numbers go C1, 2, or whatever they are. That would be the actual vertebrae in the cervical area of the upper body, correct?
Yes, the cervical spine.
Okay.
He
And
knows
then
his
below the
stuff.
cervical spine would be the thoracic spine. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the thoracic spine would be, and sometimes they're delineated as T1, T2, meaning thoracic 1, thoracic 2, all the way down to what, 5 or 6?
12.
I'm sorry?
12.
12. So when you looked at, and the lower portion would be the lumbar. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, when
He's
you
doing
looked at the
such a
CAT
good job.
scans,
He's
did you
such a
determine
good
the
attorney.
extent of the
I just want to address this comment really quickly. Lori Ballou, I believe there's also a lawsuit. Yes, there is a lawsuit. We actually went over the civil suit that Rosemary Scapiccio filed on behalf of Lindsay Clancy in a medical malpractice against all these doctors. This woman is, I don't believe, included, but she does work for one of the hospitals that is included. That we did, like, I think it was like a 3-hour stream going over those papers. It's called Scapiccio's Papers. If you want to go watch it, it's it breaks down the civil case.
injury to the spinal cord?
I could determine the extent of the injury to the bony thoracic spine.
Okay, what was that?
I don't recall exactly the level. I would have to look at the report.
What does that mean? The level of the T?
Correct.
Was her cervical spine injured?
I don't recall. I'd have to look at the report.
Were you aware that her thyroid was crushed?
I don't recall.
Do you know that her cervical spine?
How does she not recall? This is insane to me. Lindsay, yes, Patrick also has a separate civil suit. I would also suggest anybody going to read the New Yorker article that Patrick did. It's really, really, really good. And I really feel for that guy. And no, I don't believe he was at fault here. And no, I don't believe that there's some weird conspiracy where Patrick unalived the children and then blamed it on Lindsay. So just to put that out there, that's kind of going around. So
Spine vertebrae was fractured, destroyed?
I don't recall.
Doesn't that control a person's breathing? Does that have anything to do with breathing?
It can.
What do you remember about looking at the damage to the spinal cord depicted on the CAT scan?
What sticks out most in my mind is for thoracic injury.
Okay, and what was the thoracic injury?
I don't recall the exact level,
What does it
wow.
mean by effect level?
the exact level.
I'm sorry. Were you aware that there was a complete transection of the spinal cord on T5 and T6?
I'm sure I was aware at the time, yes.
Okay. And just, can you tell me what does
She
it mean
looks
when
like
it says
Lindsay.
a complete transection of the spinal cord at a particular, apparently that would be at thoracic 5 and thoracic 6, right?
Mhm.
What does that mean with a complete transection?
It means the bones are no longer one on top of the other. They're moved apart.
Were you aware that there was a significant edema noted in her chest?
If that's what the report says.
Okay, what is edema?
Swelling,
And does it also refer to fluid?
it can.
Did it refer to fluid in this case?
I'm not sure. I would have to read the report.
Wow.
So in addition to the edema that was noted, was there edema noted around C7, T1, T2, T3 to T4?
Again, I would have to have the report in front of me.
Wow.
When you noted her base temperature as being 82 degrees, what does that tell you as a doctor?
It means that her body temperature is lower than normal.
And what is normal?
98.6.
And if a person goes from 98.6 to 82 degrees before you place her in the bear hugger,
I just have to say, I think that the way that Kevin Reddington is handling this is he's asking her questions like questions a doctor should know the answers to, but these questions are directly, related to Lindsay's injuries. So when he says, do you know if there was edema? And I'm just making this up. This isn't what he said. Do you know if there was edema? I'd have to look at the records. Okay, well, what is edema? Okay, it's swelling. Could there also be fluid? Sometimes, sure. So he's making the point, and I hope the jury's getting it, but he's basically making the point, listen, if you're not going to answer my questions, if you're going to be hostile toward me, I'm going to break out everything that I know was an injury that Lindsay sustained, and I'm going to have to ask you, you're forcing me to ask you what it is, explain it like we're 5-year-olds, and could all these things happen when this injury happens? So he's going to have to do this, and he's laying it out for the jury, which I absolutely appreciate. But it is a pain in the ass, and she's making it more difficult, and I don't understand the reason why, other than her hospital is being sued civilly by Lindsay, and they're all pissed off about that. She's probably, I want to try to give her some of the benefit of the doubt here. She's probably, under strict guidelines from the legal department at the hospital, but I think her attitude about it is not helping anything. So I think that's what we're seeing here. I'm sure she's a good doctor. She would sort of have to be if she's, in trauma. I'm sure she's a good doctor. She had to go through all the schooling, but the hostility toward the defense is palpable, and that's what we're talking about here. So I don't want to tear her down as a human being. I'm sure she's a good doctor, but I don't think we have to go this way. And she is choosing to do that outside of the legal advice from the hospital, probably, in my opinion.
What does that tell you? Does that affect the body at all?
Yes, the body works ideally at 98.6. So anything outside of that range is not ideal.
To what effect, as a doctor? What effect, if any, on the body if a person has an 82 degrees base temperature?
The list of things that could go awry is quite long.
Start listing them.
Can you
Start
give me
listing
an
them.
idea, maybe the top three?
Thank you.
She could have a metabolic derangement,
What's a metabolic derangement?
meaning her body wouldn't be processing things the way that it was before. Her cells are not working the way that they should because it's too cold.
Would you agree with me that when you were looking at the injuries to the wrist and to the both wrists, actually, you noted lacerations in the volar aspect of the wrist?
Yes,
What is a volar? What does that mean?
it's the anterior aspect.
Interior? Okay, thank you. Would you agree that on both wrists there was deep laceration?
I wouldn't characterize them as deep.
You would not? And when you made reference to her being transferred to a tertiary care center, what does that mean?
It means that it's a hospital that has more services and specialized care than we do at our hospital.
Now, when she was at the South Shore Hospital, counsel asked you about whether or not you noted any injuries to her head. You did not notice any bleeding or scrapes or bruises of that nature, right?
Not that I recall.
Did you notice any injuries to her lower body, her legs, her feet, let's say the feet or her buttocks?
I don't recall.
At any time while she was at South Shore Hospital, did she have a cardiac arrest?
Not that I recall.
Do you know she had a cardiac arrest when brought to the Boston Hospital?
Did not know that.
How about blood? Was there any blood transfusion at South Shore Hospital Medical Center?
I don't recall.
You aware that she had a mass?
So the important thing here is that she was at South Shore. They determined she was brought in. I think they told them that she was a trauma 1, but they were brought into, they brought her into a trauma 2 emergency department. And once they talked to the spinal doctor on the phone and showed, imaging, he or she decided that she needed to be transferred to the Boston Hospital because they couldn't handle the trauma 1 that had happened to her body. So she was medevaced. And then once she got, or med flight to Boston, once she got to Boston, at some point after getting to Boston, she had a code blue, which means that her heart stopped. And there was a lot of chaos trying to revive her, which we'll talk about a little bit later with one of the other witnesses who I found fascinating, by the way. Her testimony made me really uncomfortable, this other woman that comes up. But this woman on the stand, Dr. Kelly McDonough, is focused solely on the care that they gave her while at South Shore. She probably is like, why am I here? But at the same time, this is a shitty case. Don't bring the attitude. Just get the job done and get the fuck out. What are you doing? She's being an asshole.
Massive transfusion of blood once she hit Brigham and Women's?
No,
What does that tell you? Massive transfusion of blood. What does that mean?
I couldn't comment on why they gave it to her.
Were the police in the hospital when she was there with you?
I don't recall.
Was she chained to the bed by handcuffs?
I don't recall.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Read right.
Very briefly. Dr. McDonough, I'm just going to give you your notes, if that's okay.
Sure, thank you.
I'll just take a look at it and then take your time and just look up when you're done.
So it is a tactic that he didn't give her notes to refresh her memory. I don't know what the tactic is, but he could have given her notes when she said, I don't recall. So maybe he was trying to make the point.
You need this one.
I think he was trying to make the point that these people didn't really care about this patient. That's how I would take it. But who knows? Because we're all a little upset that that she can't recall this woman who is paralyzed who came into her emergency department. She can't recall what the blood or the body temperature was. She can't recall the injuries to this woman. She can't recall any of this stuff. She should have looked over her notes before she came, so she would have, an idea. But I think she's been advised by an attorney to not answer unless she looks at her notes. Now, if Kevin Reddington is choosing not to give her her notes, that's him trying to say, this person doesn't care about my client, which it's a good tactic. I don't know exactly if that's what's happening, but that's what it seems like to me. Fly Like Jeff says, I mean, it really affects her credibility if she has a sudden loss of memory when the defense asks her questions. Yeah, I mean, and the prosecution, Buckingham with the bow here, immediately before asking her questions says, do you want to review your notes? And she hands her her notes. So they're trying to make the point that Reddington is doing this thing on purpose. I don't know if the jury's buying that or not, but that's what's happening. So, hello? Oh, that's okay. Okay. Yeah, I agree with this, Deirdre. I think that if we're watching her testimony, if we who are watching her testimony are picking up on her attitude, it's likely the jurors are as well. But are they also picking up on the attorney tactics? Reddington not giving her notes to refresh, and then the prosecution here giving her notes to refresh. So I don't know. I don't know what's games and what's not. You know what I mean?
Flip through the rest of them to see if that makes sense of the note that you had in the record. The notes about Lindsay Clancy's pupils.
No.
So what did that tell you?
So
Counsel asked you on cross-examination.
She's going back now to ask direct questions about what Reddington asked her that she said she couldn't recall. So this is definitely a tactic.
About pupils, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything notable, according to your now review of the notes, about Lindsay Clancy's pupils?
No.
So what did that tell you about her possible head injury?
It just indicates that there's no obvious head injury or brain herniation.
Now, you indicated that she was somewhat unresponsive, but her eyes were open. She was nonverbal, correct?
Correct.
Did you observe her to be moving her arms around at various points?
She did move her arms on exam in response to painful stimuli.
And
So
as far as
my question is, does she recall that, or did she just read that in her notes? And I know I'm nitpicking here, but I'm really wondering what the jury is thinking of this witness. And this witness isn't like a be all end all for this case. But there's an obvious attitude here, and I don't know what it is. Andrea said, hey, Andrea, will you tell me how to pronounce your name? I don't want to pronounce your name wrong. And I feel like every time I see you, which I'm glad you're here all the time, but I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. So Andrea says, this witness would have been so off-putting to me, how she doesn't recall anything and how combative she's being. It's gross behavior from a doctor, in my opinion. I agree. I totally agree. And it shows you what side she's on, which sucks. I wish these witnesses, I mean, I understand there are going to be specific witnesses that are for the prosecution and specific witnesses for the defense. And then you have a witness like Patrick who goes first for the prosecution and did the prosecution no favors. It's very obvious that he's still on Lindsay's side. He was qualifying a lot of his answers on the stand. So this witness is choosing a side. And luckily, she doesn't really have much to do with this case. So we can move on from her. But for the moment, it's drama. Hey, Michelle, thanks for the $10. Michelle said the amount of ignorance regarding women's mental health is appalling. Something's off by us covering this case with sensitivity and integrity it deserves. I appreciate you saying that. I also appreciate the $10. Thank you so much for the tip. All right, let's get back to this.
Intubation goes, you're aware that she was in fact sedated in order to maintain intubation.
Again, I'm not certain of that because I was not the one who performed the intubation.
Okay. And you were asked about CSF. Having now kind of looked through your notes with your interaction with this patient, was there any note of cerebral spinal fluid, in either your assessment of them or your review of any of the CT results?
I didn't see any mention of that in my physical exam.
Now, as an emergency department physician, you're not treating all of these spinal injuries, correct?
Correct.
Your focus is to assess, stabilize, and get them where they need to go, right?
Correct.
And so that's what you did with Ms. Clancy.
Correct.
Right.
When the injuries that were described as a Waller aspect, counsel mentioned that terminology to you, right?
Yes.
You've now in direct examination identified those injuries as superficial. What characteristics make you say superficial?
Because I wasn't
There's
able
the
to
word
visualize
again.
any active bleeding or muscle tissue or
Okay, we're not going to get into
injury
all
to
that.
tendons.
They really, I think the point of her testimony is the word superficial. That's what it comes down to for me. They've been trying to get this word in about her injuries on her wrist and neck for a very long time, and now they have it. I think the jury's going to see through it because Reddington does a good job to dispel what they're doing. Bite My Bits said it's going to matter how well psychiatric experts can explain her state of mind and psychotropic toxicity. I completely agree, which is why I'm very interested in the witness who comes a little bit later, who is a forensic psychiatrist. And it was, coffee. Thanks, baby. Sorry, guys. I just had coffee delivered to me because I've been needing it. And I am loved. That's what I will say. Somebody loves me. Yeah, the witness who comes a little bit later in this day, which we're going to get to very shortly, is fascinating and uncomfortable. And I don't know why the state called her. She got, in my opinion, she got kind of like torn apart by Reddington. Sorry if that caused anyone's misophonia to go off me slurping my coffee. Chat says, hi, Lindsay. Let's see. Danson Quinn said, why would an expert or witness not review the medical records prior to testifying? It's making her very unlikable and foolish. I missed how she responded to the prosecution. I didn't run the whole direct because there was a lot of graphic stuff in the direct. But she was a little bit more, because they were giving her her notes, she was answering their questions a little bit more openly. But yeah, she was supposed to have reviewed her notes before she got here. And I feel like she should be able to tell you what Lindsay's body temperature was, or if she shined a light in her eyes from memory. But I guess she can't do that. So Andrea. Got it. Okay. Got it. That took me a minute. Sorry. Tara had something that I thought was really important. Where did it go, Tara? Where did you go? Dancing Queen. There it is. Oh, I've already got it up on the screen. She's employed by the hospital that's being sued. I'm sure she was advised to be cooperative with the prosecution and to provide very little info to the defense. I would agree with that. And she is definitely sticking with that plan. Faux show. It's a little bit overboard, though. Like, she's taking her job a little too seriously, if you know what I mean. Okay. Okay, she's done. Get out of here. I wouldn't, if I saw this, though, and I had to go to this hospital and I would be like, I don't want you. You don't have a very good memory. I don't want you taking care of me. So find me somebody else. Okay. Next up, Sergeant Rose Stofers. Let's get her up on the screen. 144. Thanks to you guys for bearing with me. Usually I have Rebecca to fill the space too, while I'm like looking for stuff on the computer, but I don't right now because she's on vacation with her family. Okay. So Rose Stofers is crime scene services, and I'm going to give you, again, this is what I didn't understand about what the prosecution was doing on this day yesterday. for the first 2 full days of trial, 3 full days of trial, 4 full days of trial, they went through all the first responders, a bunch of the cops, detectives, folks who were at the hospital when Lindsay was brought to the hospital. So to me, it feels like, I guess they're doing this in time. So they start with the actual incident and all the first responders. Then they go to the practitioners who are taking care of Lindsay at the multiple hospitals she was at when she's, been admitted and code blue and all that stuff. And then while that's happening, they go back to the search of the house, right? So the testimony that's coming up now is going to be people who are searching the house, crime scene services, and then back to trauma nurses, and then back to crime scene services. It'll give you whiplash if you aren't familiar with the case, I think. And the jurors should not be familiar with this case. So I'm assuming they're getting whiplash in the sense that they're like, wait, where are we now? Why are we talking to this person? What does this person have to do with anything? Oh shit, now we're going back to a trauma ICU nurse, but we were just talking about evidence. That's how I would feel if I were on this jury. And so this witness, Rose, is crime scene services for MSP. We're going to hear from a lot of Massachusetts State Police in the coming testimony, and I can't help but cringe every time I hear Massachusetts State Police, even though I know that all these people are not bad people. I still cringe because of Michael Proctor and because of Yuri Buchanan. They have painted this department. I mean, not just them. Massachusetts State Police has done a lot of shit, but those two guys in particular and Tully, they've given it. I've got a bad taste in my mouth about MSP right now. Sorry, if that's bothering you guys, let me know. I didn't mean to slurp so hard. It's a full cup and I don't usually slurp like that, but anyway, sorry. Janet says, could you get Andrea Yates' lawyer on for an interview? He's awesome in barriers of foundation that they started. I will. That's a great idea, Janet. I'll definitely look into it. If you have her lawyer's name, because I remember the Andrea Yates case, but I haven't done any kind of a deep dive on it. So if you could let me know what the lawyer's name is, or you can either put it in the chat or email me at somethingsoffpod@gmail.com. That would be very helpful. Okay. So Reddington does get up and cross this witness. I don't feel like we need to go into it because it was very brief. He just clarifies that she was actually not present during the physical search of the house. And that she only photographed evidence brought to the police station. So again, another witness that the Commonwealth is calling, and I don't know why. It's not giving us anything. On the direct, she testified that she responded to South Shore Hospital to document and photograph Lindsay's injuries and her personal belongings. She said that Lindsay was covered in heating blankets because her temperature was 82 degrees and they were trying to warm her up. The room was really hot. She was wearing a C collar, which is that collar that stabilizes you as much as you can. And this witness needed assistance from the nurses because Lindsay was really uncooperative when they tried to pull her arm out from under the blanket. I mean, I would probably be uncooperative too if I were in her case, but I don't think the prosecution is picking up what they're putting down. At least I hope they're not, because it's so lame. That's what I'll say. She's the queen of bad legal takes. Who? I don't know who you're talking about. Legal tubes. I don't know who you're talking about. Are you talking about me? You can be talking about me. I don't really care. I mean, they're just takes. They're just my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. So, oh, good. Okay. You guys are super sensitive to mouth sounds, despite the look on my face is super sensitive and didn't hear me. So that makes me feel good. I do have a really good mic, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Okay, let's move on. We have another. Now we're going. Okay, so we were doing crime scene stuff. She did go to the hospital, so we're sticking with the hospital. But she did not go to. She wasn't physically present for the search of the house. She only photographed the evidence that came in once it came back to the police station. Okay, so now we are moving on to Rachel. Yeah, some of these people, we like zoomed through this stuff. They weren't on the stand for very long. This was a break. Break. Okay, Rachel. Rachel was interesting. The cross on Rachel was very interesting, in my opinion. Excuse me, Griffin. Yeah, we don't do that in this chat, my friend. We don't do that in this chat. So either, I mean, this is your warning. This is your one. Please don't be a dick. If you are, I'll just ban you. Okay, great. Oh, thanks. Despite the look on my face, I think because of your, I think you have, I can't see who it is, but I think I know who it is. He's that fantastic actor, and I can't think of what his name is right now. But I think because I see that, I think that you're a guy, which that's my bad. Okay, let's see. There we go. We're bringing the jury back. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Jury back, yes.
All right, thank you. Call your next witness, please.
Call Rochelle Amity.
Oh, Rochelle, not Rachel. Sorry. Rochelle.
Yes, counsel, please.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Could you please tell the jurors your first and
Okay, so Rochelle is a trauma ICU nurse. And I really love this woman. She details what a nurse's job is in this situation, and that's to advocate for the patient and to make sure that she's okay. And so this woman worked the night shifts in the ICU, and she testified that Lindsay suffered a cardiac arrest at 3:30 a.m. That's the code blue we've been talking about. And that was on her first night at Brigham. This is where she was transferred to from South Shore in Plymouth. So she was transferred to Boston, Brigham and Women's Hospital. For some reason, it's either Buckingham or Sprague who says the Brigham, and that drives me insane. It's just Brigham and Women's. So you can just say she was transferred to Brigham. And so Lindsay suffered cardiac arrest at 3:30 in the morning on her first night. It required chest tubes and a massive blood transfusion on her first night. That's what Reddington was actually asking Kelly McDonough about, but it happened afterward. So I think really his point with her was to be like, you did not care about this woman at all. You just wanted to like ship her out the door. Rochelle Amide noted that Lindsay was using a whiteboard while she was intubated, which means that the tube down her throat and so she can breathe and everything. And obviously I'm not a medical practitioner or a nurse or a doctor. So if I got that wrong, forgive me. But you know what it means to be intubated, I would assume. If you don't, put it in the chat. So she was using a whiteboard because she obviously physically couldn't speak. And Rochelle said that she was confused and couldn't feel her legs, and later requested to contact her lawyer on February 2nd. The prosecution makes a big deal about the fact that Lindsay was asking for her lawyer, like when she was coming out of unconsciousness. And to me, I read that as this woman does not want to be here. She wants to get a DNR done, meaning a do not resuscitate. That was my first thought. Plus, she's now alive and she's like, oh no, I'm gonna have to deal with this. I'm sure Patrick is gone from me. Oh yeah, Pedro Pascal. God, I love Pedro Pascal. He's so sexy. And so, obviously Patrick is not going to be on her side. She's probably thinking she needs her parents and she needs legal help and she needs to figure out what's going to happen with the rest of her life. And that's with her kind of anxiety. I'm assuming that's what she was thinking as soon as she woke up. As well as I think one of the doctors said that they said, how do you feel? And she said something along, I think she said horrified, which is, she wrote that out, which is awful. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, bye, Griffin. Bye. Okay, don't even bother. When a troll comes in and is stupid like that, they're just here to try to like get us to act all crazy, and we don't need we don't even need to communicate with that person. You know what I'm saying? So don't even worry about him. It wasn't a serious attempt is pretty weak, being that she almost died. Yeah, and she's paralyzed for the rest of her life. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so Rochelle, let me just get to the end of Rochelle's direct, and then we'll move into the cross, because I did think the cross was interesting.
Correct?
Yes.
And this was not a conversation you'd had before?
No.
She seems so
What did you
kind.
do when
She's
she made
such a
that
nurse.
request? What was your response?
I sent what we call a consult to the social worker in order to coordinate reaching out to her lawyer.
I just want to let's go back to listen to what, like, how this happened. Okay.
No.
And so, on this particular night, the second, she made a request of you for her lawyer, correct?
Yes.
Was that something she had asked you before?
No.
And so, did you think it was something worth noting?
Yes.
Why would you note something like that?
Because that was the first time she referred to anything going on with the case. So
Okay, and so you had the occasion after she was extubated to have some casual conversation with her, correct?
Yeah.
The idea that a nurse who was taking care of Lindsay in these pretty terrifying moments has more recall than the emergency doctor does, Kelly, should tell you everything you need to know about who cares in this case. Rochelle cared about her patient, and she is recalling details, and she is trying to help here. So I just want to make that point. Not a big deal, but just want to make that point.
And this was not a conversation you'd had before?
No.
What did you do when she made that request? What was your response?
I sent what we call a consult to the social worker in order to coordinate reaching out to her lawyer.
In any of the shifts that you had been caring for this particular patient, did you see anyone besides medical staff and the law enforcement that were outside of the room come in and speak with her?
No.
Were you aware that she was not to have visitors?
Yes. I was told the first night.
And is that something that you've seen before in your work as a nurse when there are police on site?
Yes.
Were you present at one point when some troopers came in to take photographs of her?
Yes.
And were you in the room when they took the photographs?
Yes.
Do you recall assisting them in viewing the injuries to her wrists and her neck?
I don't know if I don't remember assisting.
Okay. But you were present?
I was present, like, in the room with her.
And fair to say,
The prosecution is asking that question because from the previous testimony we heard, well, we didn't hear it because I didn't play it, but in the previous testimony, when the crime scene services woman, that Rose, who was on the stand before this, came into the room, she needed to photograph Lindsay's wrists, and Lindsay fought to remove her wrists from under the blankets, and she said she needed a nurse's help. And so the prosecution is asking if Rochelle was that nurse, and Rochelle is saying she doesn't recall doing that.
your contact ended with this patient on February 3rd when she was transferred off of the trauma surgical ICU unit.
Yes.
So 1 moment.
Nurses are the shit. They are amazing.
Now, you were not the only nurse to treat her on the night shift, correct?
Correct.
So on days that you didn't work, another nurse treated her.
Exactly.
And were you familiar with the nurse who was generally assigned to treat her during the day?
Yes.
And who was that?
Megan Collins.
Megan Collins. And is it fair to say that with the law enforcement presence and this patient's particular situation, the amount of medical staff that were treating her on a regular basis was fairly limited?
Correct.
Meaning it was the same
Yes.
people all the time?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Attorney Reddington.
I'm going to speed this up a little bit, guys, because we have a lot to get to still.
First of all, you have the certified copies of the records. Bring them to the hospital.
Commonwealth, any objection?
I actually have those on a disc. I was going to put the disc in instead of all the paper.
Why don't we put both in?
So those are the records from Brigham and Women's. I love that Reddington just brings up like 5 stacks, and she's like, I have it on a disc because it's 2026.
A lawyer first, since that was the last that they asked you about. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of these dates or facts. She was admitted on the 24th of January. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you have a memory as to approximately what time was it in the evening?
Well, she got to the ICU. It was around 3.
Okay. You're very soft-spoken.
Sorry.
If you can just keep your voice up so all the jurors can hear you.
She got to the ICU around 3 a.m.
Thank you. And she came by med flight?
She came to me from MRI.
And MRI obviously would be when you're taking the pictures.
Picture.
And that would be on the 24th of January in the early morning hours, correct?
I think it went into the 25th.
Into the 25th?
I think so.
Counsel asked you about the whiteboard that she would write on. And I think it was, again, if I'm wrong, correct me, was it January 28th that she used for the first time the whiteboard to communicate?
Yes.
And the whiteboard basically is just a whiteboard and you write on it.
Erasable.
And she was not able to speak because she was intubated, right?
Yes.
And she was in the restraints that you've described as well, right?
Right.
Moving forward, January.
They went through a bit of this testimony earlier, but when he says she was in restraints, they established that the restraints that she had on her were soft restraints, and that anybody who was intubated, it wasn't necessarily, she wasn't necessarily restrained because she was in trouble criminally. It was more to protect her from herself, from either trying to get out of the bed or pulling out a tube or something like that. So, and I just want to say, bite my bits, my son-in-law is a trauma nurse. Thank God for your son-in-law. And Teacup's bestie is also a nurse, and their sister-in-law. Tell them that we love them and give them hugs every time you see them. They are gods walking among us.
February 28, 29, 30, into February 1st, February 2nd. It was on February 2nd that counsel asked you about her asking to reach out to her lawyer, correct?
Yes.
And do you know who her lawyer was at that time?
No.
Had you seen him before?
No.
Did you know, is his name Attorney Gelb?
No.
Make any
Gelb.
reference to you?
No.
Do you know that whether or not she had conversation with Attorney Gelb regarding her status as being under arrest by the numerous police that were guarding the room?
I don't.
Do you know whether or not she was ever able to talk to Attorney Gelb, or did you refer her to the social worker people?
I put in a consult for the social worker.
Okay, thank you. When she was admitted on the 24th, would you agree that she was in the state of cardiac arrest shortly thereafter?
Shortly after arriving to me.
So I'm looking at the medical records that have been introduced for the jurors, and I'm referencing on page 18, if I may.
Let me just make sure this is not going to be something crazy.
No. Can you see?
Okay, these are just medical records.
But looking at this, does it indicate it's an SICU course?
Surgical ICU.
I'm sorry?
Surgical ICU.
Okay, and that makes reference to the fact that shortly after arriving in the ICU, the patient had a cardiac arrest. Is that there?
Yes,
Were you there then?
I was.
And when it says the etiology of the arrest, she got 2 rounds of CPR before obtaining ROSC. Can you tell me, please, what is CPR? 2 rounds of what is ROSC?
Meaning we did chest compression. She was already intubated, so she was getting oxygen.
Okay.
She's so good.
And then bilateral chest tubes
She's lovely.
in her body?
Yes,
Does that mean from both sides?
both sides.
Okay, and they punch us through the chest into what, the lungs?
The lungs.
Okay, so the lungs. And when they placed the chest tubes, at this point, shortly after admission, there was 100 to 300 cc's of blood from each chest tube? What does that mean?
That's the output they got once they put the chest
Sorry
tube in.
again, but just can you keep it?
That's the output they got once they put the chest tube in?
Okay, so when they put the chest tube in, it drained.
She's so smart. She's so good.
Correct.
And then after that, again, shortly after admission to the hospital, coming from South Shore Hospital, she then got a massive transfusion protocol, which you told us about, right?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Means she gets, we have a protocol that with blood, depending blood products,
Okay.
she gets infused rapidly.
And
Infused rapidly.
here, notice shortly after arrival to the ICU, she was being turned and had 30 cc's of clear fluid that came out of her nose. Is that right?
Yes.
And what is that? Was there a suspicion that was what's called CSF?
Yes.
And what is CSF?
It's spinal fluid.
Wow.
Going to the
Wow.
next page, which would be 19. Does it
Oof. So he had asked this question earlier of the ER, the trauma surgeons and ER doctors at South Shore if they had seen any clear liquid fluid coming out of her nose, and they said no. But as soon as she got to Brigham, she, she had a code. So Rochelle says she got there at 3, and by 3:30 a.m. she coded, and they had to do a massive blood transfusion, and she had spinal fluid coming out of her nose. So I think, I take it back. I think when we were talking about this before with Kelly McDonough, and Reddington using the tactic to like not show her the notes and all that stuff. I think that he's making the point that those doctors really didn't care about this person. And I don't want to say doctors don't care about patients, but I think that sometimes they're just like, let's move this along so we don't have to deal with it. And it very much, I think that point might have hit home for him, because what he's talking about right now is it within a half an hour of arriving at Brigham, she was going into cardiac arrest, had a massive blood transfusion, and had spinal fluid leaking from her nose. Jesus. So that's a lot. That is a lot.
Indicate again on there, if I can bring this up a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree with this,
So
Kendra.
she now has noted acute blood loss, anemia, right? What does that mean?
She has a low blood count.
And I think any attitude we're seeing from the people who worked at South Shore, it's because of this, because they're worried the defense is going to make it seem like they didn't care, but it does seem like they didn't care. And I think that that's the point. I mean, if you put Rochelle on the stand next to Kelly McDonough, tell me which one cares more. Rochelle, in my opinion.
And you know what happened to the blood, or any idea?
I do not.
So she had very low, lost a lot of blood, right?
Yes.
And she had anemia. That would be what, low blood or something?
Yes.
Akasha says, well, didn't her kids go to the same hospital? I assume that the point that you're making is that everybody at South Shore hated this woman because of what she had done, but they still have to take care of Lindsay. She is their patient. It's the same thing as like a defense attorney who might know that their client is guilty or might hate their client or might think that their client's disgusting. They still have rights as human beings. And I think that's sort of, I think without getting into too many layers of that, that's what Reddington is trying to show, in my opinion. Let me know what you think about that.
And she required multiple transfusions immediately following her arrest, right?
Yes.
And when it says arrest, does that mean arrest by the police, or does that mean the cardiac? I want to make sure that's clear. It's cardiac arrest, nothing to do with the police. Okay. And she had required multiple transfusions. And you were there for that, correct?
Yes.
Were you aware of the extent of the, after you had the after you had the MRIs and the CAT scans, were you aware as her, the lead nurse or treating nurse, as to what the extent of her injuries were?
At that point, I don't believe so.
At some point, did you become aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, so and again, I've got the records, you don't, so let me do it this way, just to make it easy. Do you remember that she had a burst fracture of C1?
Yes.
What does that mean?
He's so smart.
Cerebral fracture.
That'd be up here? So this is the cervical spine up here?
Mhm.
And then T5 and T6, there was a
Thoracic.
transection, what does that mean?
Thoracic.
Okay, so
on
it'd
the
be
spine.
down here. And when it says transection, what does that mean?
It's severed.
And then T1, 2, 3, 4 also were injured as well, right?
Mhm.
What is neurogenic shock? What does that mean? If you know.
Neurogenic shock.
Sorry, yeah, neurogenic shock. It just makes reference on.
She's like,
These
let
are
me
not my
correct
notes,
you.
So I can't really.
That's fine. I understand.
She's gorgeous also.
And this would be on page 65. Do you recall reviewing the documentation as to what's captioned present illness in the records?
Hi, Jojo.
Did you know that she was presenting as a transfer from Social Hospital?
Yes.
Did you know that she was that under present illness in the
She's like,
history would be that she's
what?
a 32-year-old female with history significant for postpartum depression? Did you know that?
Yes.
And did you know that after
There
the
it
fall
is.
with the C1 burst fracture and the complex transection of T5 and T6, she also had rib fracture, correct?
Yes.
She's so good. I'd watch her all day.
On page 66, that would make reference to the time frame going into the 25th, on the 25th, that she was reacting to painful stimuli, right?
Yes.
And that basically means that she's not conscious, if you will, but she's able to react to,
If you cause pain.
okay.
Like now she's
There's no-
finishing his sentences for him, his questions for him. I love that. Like think about like the juxtaposition between her and Kelly McDonough is astounding to me. It's just amazing.
Quotation of a contusion, laceration, and crushing of the thyroid with thyroidal edema. What does that mean?
She has swelling. I'm assuming around her thyroid.
Okay, and that is,
Again, this is not my scope
okay,
of practice. So
okay.
She still understands it and
Um,
she's still answering the
On page
questions.
70,
So I love
same
that.
evening, making reference to the fact that in addition to the injuries to the spine, that she also had the rib fractures and was currently in shock. Do you remember that she was in shock? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree, or do you recall that there's a notation that this patient is critically ill, and noting that she has postpartum psychosis on page 72?
There it is.
I see counsel.
Ooh. I would love to know what's happening at this sidebar, because what Reddington is doing is he's taking a report of some of Lindsay's history, but also like her intake reports for the hospital. He's breaking down all the things that she's going through, and the nurse is confirming all of this. She didn't answer this question, but he is reading it off the page, and it says she was suffering from actually, let me go back and make sure I get the wording of it right. Hold on a sec.
Okay. Would you agree, or do you recall that there's a notation that this patient is critically ill, and noting that she has postpartum psychosis on page 72?
So I would love to know who made that note, because she had not been diagnosed at that point. But somebody, one of the medical professionals, is putting it in the notes that she is suffering from postpartum psychosis. This is a day after all this happened, basically. And that's kind of the case right there, in my opinion. I wish that Rochelle had been able to answer this, because I think she would have agreed with that note. I think she'd already said that she was suffering postpartum depression. So she knew that. Rochelle knew that. She probably also know that she was suffering postpartum psychosis. Very different. This is the first time that I'm hearing it, and I could be wrong, so correct me if I am, but this is the first time I'm hearing that a doctor or medical practitioner noted in the intake file for Lindsay being in the hospital at this moment, suffering from her spinal injury, after she coded all of these things in her file, it says she is suffering postpartum psychosis. A medical practitioner put that in the file. I don't know what the objection is about. I assume it's because the prosecution's like, oh, fuck. But that's where it is right there. Within 24 hours, Reddington is reading her file that says she's suffering postpartum psychosis. There isn't a doctor that I know of in this case who diagnosed her as having psychosis. They were questioning it, and they were questioning whether she was having postpartum depression. And they were questioning whether they should be trying to figure out if she's actually bipolar. But he's reading this chart as if it says she is suffering. Well, let's go back and listen to it one more time, because I think it's important.
Would you agree, or do you recall that there's a notation that this patient is critically ill, and noting that she has postpartum psychosis on page 72?
I see counsel.
So I hear what you're saying, Miss Priss, that it doesn't turn it into hearsay. So not her report, so it turns into hearsay. He has been asking her observations of Lindsay Clancy. Let's go back just a little bit. Let's go back through these. These are very interesting questions. And Rochelle has already said, this is not my report, so I can't say what's in the report, but I can tell you that I saw this, right? So this is what we're doing here.
Okay. There's a notation of a contusion, laceration, and crushing of the thyroid with thyroidal edema. What does that mean?
She has swelling. I'm assuming around her thyroid.
Okay. And that.
She has
Again,
swelling.
this is not my scope.
Right here?
Practice, so.
Okay. On page 70, the same evening, making reference to the fact that in addition to the injuries to the spine, that she also had the rib fractures and was currently in shock. Do you remember that she was in shock? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay.
So the question is, he's saying from the report, the patient was in shock. And then he's saying to Rochelle, do you remember that she was in shock? And Rochelle is saying yes. She is confirming what's in this report up to the psychosis diagnosis. I find it fascinating.
Would you agree, or do you recall that there's a notation that this patient is critically ill, and noting that she has postpartum psychosis on page 72?
Objection. Okay. So we sidebar it. We're back.
Is what they've been dealing with and what injuries they have, right?
Hold on, let
Is
me
to
back
know
it
what
up.
their total. When you're treating a patient, one of the things you try to do is to know what their total body and emotional condition is, what they've been dealing with, and what injuries they have, right?
We get a rundown or history of the patient.
Sure. And as it goes into the end of January, and she had been communicating on the whiteboard, you were aware at that point why she was in the hospital, right?
Yes.
You knew where she came from, South Shore Hospital, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And you knew that there had been discussion about postpartum psychosis. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And do you recall that, and this would be
There it
on-
is. I mean, she
May I
just
approach you on-
confirmed it. Whether it's hearsay or not, because it's not her report, he asked her directly. There was discussion about whether she had postpartum psychosis, and without hesitation, Rochelle said, yes, of course. They have to, of course. It's really good testimony. It's really good lawyering.
Thank you. You can
I
maybe
love it.
show counsel. Wait,
I want the date and the time. And lawyer, legal team.
I love him so much.
Can you tell me in terms of what date is this page from?
125.
January 25.
if I ask you if you keep your voice, at least speak in
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
January 25th,
Okay, does it say what time?
9 a.m., 9:03 a.m.
All right, can I see that for a second? Thank you. And looking at that, do you recall on that date, you had been working with her the night before, correct?
Correct.
Where it indicates that the patient's under arrest, right?
Yes.
And there are police officers at her bedside. Right?
Outside the room,
Well, it says at her bedside on the record, doesn't it?
in the record, but I'm
So
saying
the night before,
they were outside her room.
outside the room. You were not there during the day, apparently, right?
Correct.
And there's a difference from you guys as far as your medical records. If the police officer is at the bedside as opposed to sitting in a chair in the hallway outside the room. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So indicating police officer at her bedside, we will involve the social work and legal teams, right?
Yes.
Tara, let me answer this question for you. I'm not a lawyer, but based on watching trials in Massachusetts, quick question: when they make an objection, don't they have to state out loud what the objection is? I mean, what is Bo Peep's problem? Yeah, it's state by state, and in the Commonwealth, I think it's also court by court. Like it's up to the judge. I know that for John O'Keefe's trial, for the Karen Reed's trial, Bev didn't want them to say their objections out loud. It seems like this judge doesn't either. So in Massachusetts, I don't know if it's like this at every court, but basically whoever can say objection and then sidebar. Sometimes Reddington is like, he'll be like, objection. I mean, this is leading, like that kind of thing. He does that later on. I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, but he does it later on where he's like, I've let this go. They've been leading witnesses and I've just let them do it, but I'm done with it now. So I'm objecting, leading the witness kind of thing. And the judge doesn't take umbrage. He just kind of moves it along. But it seems to me that in these Superior Court cases in Massachusetts, it seems like they don't want the reasoning for the objection to be said out loud in open court. I don't know why. I would like to know, I'd like to know what they're talking about, but we don't get that. So.
And again, on page 72, there's a reference to CSF leak, and that's significant. It's a significant amount of fluid coming from her nose. Do you have any memory of observing that in your treatment?
I did.
Okay. And then, of course, there was the code event that you've already described for us. There's 100 to 300 cc's of blood coming from the tubes. And then it makes reference to, on page 74, to massive transfusion protocol. Is that like a medical term, or is that somebody
Yes.
describing it? Or
It's a protocol that we have at the hospital.
okay. And on page 75, did you make reference to, or did you observe the injuries, for example, to her wrist?
I observed.
Yes. And would you agree with me, page 75 of the medical record, indicating if it says RUE, what does RUE mean? Do you know?
Oh, right upper extremity.
Right upper extremity.
Okay, so what Reddington is about to go after here is the superficial wounds again. I don't know if he's going to make it happen, but let's see what happens with Rochelle.
3.5 centimeter deep laceration, volar aspect of wrist.
So I should say trigger warning because we're talking about graphic injuries to the wrist when someone attempted to unalive themselves. So if you need to step away, obviously do that for your mental health. And hello, Shauna. Glad you're here.
Tell me, what is the volar aspect of the wrist?
Are we going to show it?
I just don't know.
I'm not sure what
Okay,
that's
that's all
referring
right.
to.
That's fine. Would you agree that there was noted a 3.5 centimeter deep laceration on her wrist?
I can't say because I didn't measure. This is somebody else's note, so
Well, when you looked at her, did you observe with your own eyes and your own experience that she had a deep laceration on the,
she had a laceration, yes.
you can't say it's deep or not?
I can't say, I didn't,
You want to say it was superficial?
I can't say that either.
So when you look
Good
at the
for you.
laceration on her
Good
wrist,
for you.
you can't tell us if you would agree that it was a deep laceration.
She's not a doctor.
I really didn't get to assess it at the time when she arrived, so
LUE, underneath that, left upper extremity apparently, right?
yes.
2 centimeter deep laceration, again, on the volar aspect of the wrist. You did see laceration on
I,
the left wrist?
yeah, she had dressings.
Okay.
I mean, we can hear the depth of these injuries, 2.5 centimeters, 3 centimeters. And I mean, look at your arm and think about what that would look like. It's awful. I've seen the pictures of her neck and I've seen the pictures of her wrists. The wrist injuries didn't look that damaging to me. I'll just be honest. The neck one did. However, we've said this before, and I hate that the prosecution is really pushing this narrative that she somehow faked this shit. Your body and your mind will stop you from doing something to yourself. For some people anyway. And it seems to me, I'm trying to use my words carefully, just so you guys know. That's why I'm stuttering a little bit. It seems to me that Lindsay's body stopped her from hurting herself in that way, which is why she chose the route of the window. Because and the idea that the prosecution is saying she's Spider-Man down the wall is just ludicrous. More than likely what happened was her body did the same thing it did when she tried to harm herself with a sharp object. And that is, she probably held on to the side of the building because she realized she was like, her body was like, you're falling, stop yourself. And she couldn't. And that's how she got the injuries that she got. But the idea that the prosecution would still be going with this line of her faking it is disgusting, in my opinion. And I think Rochelle, even though she probably doesn't like the way that Reddington is talking to her right now, handles herself really well and doesn't agree. I thought it was really important when he said, would you call it superficial? And she said, I can't say that word either. Because he thinks, and rightly so, he thinks that the prosecution witnesses have been told to use the word superficial. So when he says something like, you want to use the word superficial, and she's like, no, I don't want to use that word either. She is owning herself in this moment, and I really appreciate it. I love you, Rochelle. I'm your biggest fan.
And when she was admitted, she had the core temperature of 82 degrees. Is that correct?
If that's what's noted.
All right. Do you remember, did they use a bear claw or something like that? What is it they call it? They put
A bear hugger?
Bear hugger. They put a bear hugger blanket on them. And when I say them, I mean people that have a low
Temperature to warm them up.
it hopefully raises the temp, right?
Yeah.
And then if it has warm intravenous IVF, that would be putting warm saline in the body.
Yes, through an IV.
All right, all with an effort to try to get the temperature up, right?
Yeah.
And her core temperature was 82 degrees even after she was at the South Shore Hospital and underneath the bear thing and all that, and still.
If that's what's noted.
Yeah.
Again, that's on my note.
That's pretty low, isn't it?
It is.
And you made reference to pressors. I'm sorry. Can you tell me
Pressors, blood pressure medication to bring up the blood pressure.
Okay.
She's so good. I love her.
On January 26th, she was still intubated. Is that right?
Yes.
And she was under sedation, right?
Yes.
And then you referenced January 28th, overnight shift. She was still intubated, right?
Yes.
And January 28th is when
A
she
long
first
time to
started
be
utilizing
intubated.
the whiteboard. Is that correct?
Yes.
But she was intubated, yes?
Yes.
She was restrained to the bed?
Yes.
And had the tube was still in her mouth, and she was writing on a whiteboard on the 28th of January, correct?
She was able to, yes.
January 30th, she was extubated, as the district attorney asked you, right?
Yes.
So at that point, was she able to talk, talk?
Talk.
Okay. And then on February 2nd is when she used she asked about wanting to reach out to her attorney. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you had no knowledge as to her mother and father getting an attorney for her while she was in custody with the police all around her?
No.
Okay. And you tried to help her out as best.
Amanda said, this is yesterday, ? I missed most of yesterday and today. This is yesterday. I will be covering what happened in court today, tomorrow at 4 p.m. with Sarah Carradine. And then Thursday, I will be covering what happened the day after. So today is day 5. We're going over day 5, which was yesterday. Tomorrow, we're going over day 6, which was today. Thursday, we're going over day 7, which would be Wednesday. I know that's confusing, but I've put I haven't put all the videos out yet on the YouTube, all the stream, like saying, hey, this is coming, click the notify me button. But I will have tomorrow. I already have tomorrow's out, and tomorrow I will have Thursday's out. So you should have an idea of what's coming. And this testimony is important. And then we're going to have to move on from Rochelle here in a moment because I'm running out of time.
Father getting an attorney for her while she was in custody with the police all around her?
No.
Okay. And you try to help her out as best you could?
Yeah, to coordinate. It's harder at night to,
Sure.
so I wanted to pass it on.
And finally, she was not able to have visitors per order of the police. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Como, redirect.
Ms. Amity, the first time that Ms. Clancy, the defendant, the patient, used a whiteboard with you was on January 28th, correct?
Yes.
You're not aware of if she used that tool with other nurses on other shifts,
No.
were you?
No.
And the first time that she mentioned a lawyer on the February 2nd, that's the first time she mentioned a lawyer to you, correct?
Correct.
You were asked about the trauma in the chest tube and that she lost 100 to 300 cc's of blood.
Yes.
The transfusion came after that, correct?
Yes.
And fair to say the course of her treatment coming to Brigham was that she first came in through the emergency department, correct?
Yes.
Then she was sent for an MRI.
Yes.
And then she came to the trauma surgery, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that she had other imaging like CT scans, correct?
Yes.
And that especially when it came to the head CTs, she didn't have any intracranial injuries or anything that required that you be focused on her head injury, correct?
Correct.
So it was more a cardiac issue and keeping her stable and internal bleeding in the chest area.
Yes.
As far as what you're aware of from other treating physicians, you're aware Dr. Anderson was one of the trauma surgeons that was treating the patient,
Yes.
and he was making assessments and giving orders to you and other nurses, fair to
Yes.
say? And are you aware that he identified in the history that this patient actually had a history of postpartum mood symptoms, not psychosis?
I would have to look at the note. I don't remember.
Those aren't notes that you would have
Or,
written.
no.
And you
Listen,
were taking a
listen,
full history
lady.
of the patient.
Not
Listen, lady, the word psychosis, postpartum, the words psychosis, postpartum psychosis are in her medical reports. Don't try to these people, they are so fucking shady. That bow is hiding the shady underneath it.
the time. No.
Were you aware that she then subsequently was fully evaluated by the psychiatric team?
I knew she saw psych. Yes.
And were you aware that they ultimately identified that there's an inherent uncertainty in her diagnosis?
I do not remember.
Interesting point. She said, are you aware that she saw a psych team? Now, I keep talking about this one other testimony that I want to get to today. That is the forensic psychiatrist that saw Lindsay. And a huge point was made by Reddington that obviously we're glossing over right now because this would hurt their narrative. That psych team met Lindsay for 20 minutes and they perused her records up until that point. And they met with her for 20 minutes before giving their input for these files. So just keep that in mind when she's talking about this right now. And that's why the testimony from that witness is incredibly important as far as I'm concerned.
They ultimately identified that there's an inherent uncertainty in her diagnosis.
I do not remember.
As far as the lacerations went, in your treatment of her, again, you treated her overnight shifts for various days, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever have a situation where you had to change her bandages because they were seeping?
No.
And are you aware that
Except for the first night, but we didn't get to that because she coded.
because she coded?
Yeah.
And then you're aware that the next day after, another individual, physician's assistant, actually came in and treated those lacerations.
True, yeah.
And
Science and Sass says, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but just because something is in the med record doesn't mean it's true. Particularly, it's something that appears once and never again, but should show up again. It doesn't matter if it's true. The point of the matter is they were discussing, and in a positive way, not in a positive like this is good for her, but yes, we think she has postpartum psychosis because her doctors had not diagnosed her with that. They were talking about it. They were talking about postpartum depression. They were giving her a bunch of meds to treat these things. And they were also talking about the fact that she should be basically tested for bipolar, and they never did it. So the idea that that on the night after she was brought to the emergency room with a spinal injury, after unaliving her 3 kids and trying to unalive herself, and one of the notes in her file says she's positive for postpartum psychosis, is hugely important as far as the timeline is concerned, because we have to remember that the Commonwealth has to prove that Lindsay Clancy was not sane at the time she committed this act. Not before and not after, but at the time. And if there is a medical note within 24 hours of this happening, and they are talking about her having postpartum psychosis, that goes with the defense's theory of this case, not the prosecution. That's the only point I was making. It doesn't have to be true. But the idea that they're like, yeah, we think this might be the case within 24 hours sort of proves the point that she may have been suffering postpartum psychosis at the time she unalived her children. Because the rest of the testimony kind of shows us that, I mean, we're going to get into it later in this day with her diary entries and like how thoughtful of a mother she was. When you hear her diary entries, there's just no way, I think, in my opinion, to even imagine that this woman could unalive her children. And so she had to have had a break. And if medical professionals are talking about that psychosis within 24 hours of her being brought in for unaliving her 3 children and trying to unalive herself, I think it's hugely important for the jury to hear that. And the jury heard it. And Reddington made that point. And that was huge. That was so important to me. I just thought it was a really brilliant moment. Okay.
As far as Dr. Anderson goes, were you aware that on January 25th, he noted that the lacerations to her neck and wrists were very superficial and didn't require treatment at that time?
I was not
See,
aware
we're
of
going
that.
back to the
Don't remember that.
superficial. Okay.
Would you,
I'm going to skip past this because literally they're just trying to hammer home the word superficial for her wrist and neck injuries. And it's ludicrous at this point.
The psychiatric teams, do you know, determine?
Hold on, sorry.
District Attorney asked you about the evaluation by the as she put it, psychiatric teams with a determination that there was inherent uncertainty according to the psychiatric teams. Do you know when the psychiatric teams were evaluating her?
I don't know. It was
She just
after,
shrugged.
during the day. I don't know what day.
Yeah.
But
It was
in any
20
event,
minutes.
I did show you on the thing over there, where the reference was made to postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, correct?
Yes.
And
Here it is.
that's all I have. Thank you, ma'am.
Yep,
Anything further?
there it is. That's all he needs to say.
Thank you.
Rochelle. Let's give a hand to Rochelle. Thank you for your work. You're an amazing human being. I love you. Okay. And so this next person that's being called is Megan Collins. She is the other ICU nurse, the one that Rochelle was saying that I think took over for her when she went home from her shift. And she testified that she was on the day shifts with Lindsay, and that Lindsay actually experienced ICU delirium, agitation, and confusion after extubation, requiring soft restraints to prevent her from pulling out the lines, as we were talking about before. And Megan was present during the psychiatric team evaluations when Clancy changed her healthcare proxy from her husband to her parents. That part's really important. And then Kevin got up to cross and confirmed that Lindsay changed her proxy to her parents and asked if Megan Collins, the ICU nurse, was aware that Lindsay had repeatedly expressed a desire for a do not resuscitate, a DNR order. And then we had, hold on a second, Panda Bear, thank you so much for being a member for a month. We hope that you'll come back tonight at 7 p.m. when I'm on with Ellen, which is in an hour and 15 minutes, which means I have to go here pretty soon. We're going to try to get through this. If we don't manage to get through all this from day 5, I will cover it tomorrow going into day 6. But if we don't get through it, it's because I have a really hard time getting things done in under 2 hours. Panda Bear, thank you for covering this. Let's go. Let's go, Ladala Beans. Let's go, lesbians. Whoever said Bo Peep got me good. Me too. The struggle is teal. Okay, let's see. Nurse Megan was great too. I want to put her on the screen, even though we're not really gonna like hear much from her. Oh God, she looks so familiar to me.
And how long have you been a nurse?
11 years.
And did you go to school for that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Nurse Megan was also great. I would say of everybody that's testified so far, Megan Megan and Rochelle have been my favorite, and I wish they could testify for everybody at every trial. I'll just say that. And then we have Dr. I think it's Sejal. Hold on a second. Let's get through this. And this was the first psychiatrist who saw Lindsay in the hospital. Let me see what I have for my notes. So Sejal evaluated Lindsay starting on January 29th. So this was many days later, many days later, for psychiatric safety and medical decision-making capacity. She determined that Clancy had capacity to change her healthcare proxy once her post-surgical delirium resolved. She reported Lindsay feeling down about her legal and physical situation, paralysis, but denied active suicide or homicidal intent during evaluations. Reddington had some pretty good cross here, so I'm going to try to get to that really quick. Hold on. This was like a 6-hour day. We're trying to get through this in 2 hours, so bear with me here. Oh, God. Why is it doing that? Okay. This is the next witness. Yeah, she was a pretty good witness. Let's get to cross.
Hallucinations or delusions and
The
right. And then your last visit about
Okay.
Asked, right? Legal reason, correct?
no.
And you didn't go off and try to exaggerate to you and say, I'm seeing visions and I'm hearing voices and I'm suicidally ideated and I'm homicidally ideated. She didn't say any of those things to you, did she?
No.
She actually
Venus
denied
Blue
them.
Cupcake says they
This is
love
not,
when I
in her
whisper
opinion,
to
someone who was
myself.
trying to
It happens a
exaggerate
lot.
her conditions for some legal reason, correct?
No.
And you obviously were in close contact with her for about a month, right?
That's right.
Just a couple of questions. Counsel asked you whether or not, and I think it may have been in the beginning in January, that you had difficulty understanding her. Obviously, after removing the tubes and everything else, you're able to talk with her, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that one of the concerns, if you will, was postpartum issues. You knew that.
Katie, this is not the unicorn. I think it's the next woman, the woman I've been talking about for most of this stream that I've been looking forward to getting to. I think that the next witness is the unicorn in the corner witness. I will ask the Google machine and see if I can get that pinpointed exactly, because that was one of those moments I was listening as I was driving back from the beach, and I went, what? Like, what did she do? Why are we talking about unicorns? What the hell is going on? It was a crazy moment. Thanks for becoming a member, Katie. We hope to see you tonight at 7 p.m.
Right?
Yes.
And in your experience as a psychiatrist.
And I want to say, I actually am going to skip through this because there wasn't a ton that happened in the cross. She basically breaks down, like I said, that basically Lindsay was an honest patient, quote unquote, honest patient. She was an honest person. She wasn't, and Kevin Reddington is sometimes crass because he's like, she wasn't like drooling or stumbling, in active psychosis. And he did manage to talk about that somebody could be in psychosis without physically presenting that they were in psychosis. And I thought that was really important. And he also talked about the many drugs that Lindsay was prescribed. And when he listed them out, it's still shocking to me. And he brings up specific drugs that would have been bad for her bipolar if she had bipolar, and hypomania, and the black box warnings on some of these SSRIs and antidepressants, which say if you are feeling unaliving thoughts, stop taking, consult your physician, all that kind of stuff. And he made that very clear on several of the drugs she was prescribed. On the redirect of this, the prosecution tried to say, well, you just got this whole list of meds that came from the defense, but she wasn't on all those meds at the same time. This is what she was prescribed, and she was prescribed from September to January. You guys, the prosecution did not help themselves here. They basically are like, well, she wasn't taking all those meds when she did this to herself. She was just prescribed all those meds. She was prescribed that laundry list of meds over a 4-month period. Anybody, a layperson, can look at that and go, this is not okay. What are we doing? But the prosecution is, I think they have their heads in their asses and they're not seeing like where they're stumbling. You know what I mean? All right, I really need to get to this next witness. And I hope that I didn't miss let me see if I missed the unicorn moment. Give me just a second here, guys. Sorry. I'm not trying to, I got to move my, where is it? Where is it? Ask. Oh my God, you guys. I feel like such a Luddite when I do stuff like this. Am I not finding it? Hold on a second. Sorry. Moons? Hammy? I'm back. All right, unicorn. I'm just going to search for the word unicorn and see what we find. There it is. Yeah, it's the next one. I thought it was. Okay. Let's skip ahead to that, actually. Here we go. This is Guillaume Bishwash. I thought she was a good witness for the prosecution, but Reddington tied her in knots on cross. And this was a moment where Reddington was like, what are you guys talking about? Why are you being crazy yourselves?
Unicorn in the corner, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And she needed breaks, and I said, anytime you need a break.
It's on the answer sheet.
So, and just so you know, this woman is a forensic psychiatrist. She has extensive education, including Dartmouth, Harvard, and now she's the forensic psychiatrist at Brigham. She testified about that she had a 20 to 30 minute evaluation of Lindsay on January 26th. So this is several days later, while Lindsay was still intubated. So she was, writing on a board and everything. And when she asked how Lindsay felt, this is the woman who said that Lindsay wrote horrified. And then she asked, do I have an attorney? Is my body broken? Are my legs straight? Dr. Bishwash noted that Lindsay's thinking did appear linear and goal directed without explicit physical signs of psychosis at the moment. This is the woman with her team evaluated Lindsay for 20 minutes and wrote these notes. And this is who the prosecution chose to call. Not the woman, they chose to call Dr. Sejal Shah, who we just saw, who actually evaluated Lindsay for over a month. So she gave us more insight, and she was really helpful to the defense, in my opinion. And then they bring in Bishwash, and it all falls apart. So, all right. So here's the unicorn moment. Nurse Mandy said, I love these streams, Mel. Can't wait for Cross Roast. You've been a member for a month, and I appreciate you. We're not doing Cross Roast tonight, but Cross Roast will be back next Monday with Rebecca. Tonight, we're going to have Ella Marie Marsh on, and we're just going to basically gossip and talk about true crime shit. So I hope you come back for that anyway. It's a good time.
On the paper, did she seem to understand the questions you were asking?
Yes.
And her responses, did you understand those?
Yes, she was anxious and she needed breaks. And I said, anytime you need a break, we can leave. But she did write to us those particular answers.
So what she was writing, even when she asked if she had a lawyer, those were things, what she was writing made sense given the situation. She wasn't writing, is there a unicorn in the corner, right?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
If there was a unicorn in the corner. So what she's asking, do I have an attorney? Are my legs straight? Is my body broken? Those all made sense given the situation she was in, correct?
They were relevant answers and questions she was asking.
Okay.
I love that he said, what? I didn't hear what you just said. And she said, I asked if she was writing, is there a unicorn in the corner? Like, it was the most sane thing to say. Like, this is perfectly fine, what I just said. Is just for the record, is there a unicorn in the corner? Okay, guys, I am going to play this for you. I'm listening in my headphones. I have to run to the bathroom. I'm still listening so I can respond when I come back. I'm going to go off the screen for a minute and I'm going to play this for you. This cross-examination is, I think, very, very important. So, yeah, here we go.
Were they, to your knowledge, were they involved with command hallucinations, things of that nature?
My patients in the past? Yes.
Yeah. For a large amount of people that you've treated over the years that have suffered from command hallucinations, hearing voices, delusions, things of that nature, right?
In my career, yes.
And do you know whether or not there had been any indication from Lindsay as to, well, in the hospital, having any delusions or psychosis symptoms of that nature, if you know?
So I saw her, she had only been in the hospital for a day and a half,
Right.
and I hadn't heard about any psychotic delusions.
And that's
from
what you saw, though. I mean, as far as you, like, how often would you see her?
I see. I saw her one time,
Once. Okay. How long were you evaluating her?
probably because she was intubated. It was very
Just asking how long?
about 20 to 30 minutes.
20 minutes, 30 minutes? And a psychosis, is a psychosis, to your knowledge, something that has to continue, or does it stop?
It absolutely depends on the patient. It depends on their age, how many episodes of psychosis they have had. It depends on the type of psychosis we're seeing. For some people, they can have moments of clarity, absolutely. And for some, it can be more continuous. It really depends on the patient and their illness.
Okay. So basically, you're saying that it would be case specific?
Yes.
All right. And in the 20 minutes or so that you had when you're dealing with Lindsay, were you aware of her prior medical and psychiatric history?
When we get consulted on a case, we...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm asking, were you aware of her medical and psychiatric history?
I was aware of the portion that was in the medical record before I saw her.
Okay, so that would deal with, as far as postpartum psychosis?
Could you ask that question
Yeah,
again?
when you looked at the medical record and when
Yes.
you were involved evaluating her on behalf of the hospital, because you weren't a psychiatrist that her mother or father had retained and asked to go see her, right?
Correct.
You were working for the hospital,
I was working for Brigham and Women's Hospital.
and you had spoken to a number of people before you interacted with her for the 20 minutes that you saw her while she was there for a month, right?
No.
Okay. Now, were you aware of her history of documented postpartum depression
I was aware of mostly the postpartum anxiety that was in the record. Yes.
and postpartum anxiety? The symptomology would be insomnia.
Yes.
And
Can be.
did she have insomnia prior to seeing you for 20 minutes?
Yes.
And do you recall the length of time that she would be suffering from insomnia? Was it like a week, a day, a month, or what?
I don't recall the timing exactly.
Do you recall that at one point that she was on medication and actually went for 48 hours without sleep?
I don't recall that exactly from the record, that number.
Do you recall, in addition to the insomnia, that she was concerned as asking you if, in fact, her brain was broken?
She asked me, is my body broken?
Okay. Did you see in the records that she was concerned about the effect of the drugs and whether or not her brain was broken, quote unquote?
I did not see that language in the records.
How about acting on command hallucinations, conversations or statements to the effect that she was having thoughts of suicidal ideation? You know that, right?
I did know about the suicidal ideation, yes.
How many times did she express to people that she would tell people that she had been concentrating on committing suicide? If you know.
I don't recall the number of times.
So in any event, you know that she was insomnia. You know that there was a significant period of time that she was suffering from insomnia. You knew that she was expressing suicidal ideation. How about homicidal ideation? Did she express that?
Not from my review of the records.
Okay. Would that be indicative of a person that could be in psychosis expressing concerns about homicidal ideation?
No, overall, allow.
Sorry, I don't know that question. Could you repeat that question?
Sure. Is that one of the factors that one would be concerned about as a psychiatrist if a person was expressing homicidal ideation?
I would be concerned about that as a psychiatrist.
And in fact, in this case, you knew at least about the suicidal ideation that she had been expressing, right?
Yes.
But you didn't know about any homicidal ideation she was expressing, right?
From the records or
Prior
from...
to coming to see you for 20 minutes.
I knew that there was an event that had occurred and that...
3 children died. That's the event you're referring to, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Next question.
Now, as far as the period of time that she was involved with, by the way, what's hypomania?
Hypomania is sort of the gradual increase towards mania, the symptoms that we see in somebody who might have bipolar disorder. And with bipolar disorder, we see mixed depression and we see mania and we see symptoms that kind of gradually increase to mania. And we call that period hypomania.
Did she exhibit, to your knowledge from the medical records, any periods of hypomania? Excessive cleaning, exercise, or activities, being awake at night, things of that nature?
At that moment, on January 26th, I don't remember reading about that.
Okay. Do you have any memory of reading about it at all? Other than that moment? As a treating physician, a doctor, psychiatrist?
I don't remember.
So what is your purpose at the hospital? I mean, you're not treating the person for any illness that they have as far as their mental condition, right? You're not treating them.
We are.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
So you're concerned about, obviously, their symptomology, if any, that they present at the time that you're looking at them and talking to them, or in this case, she couldn't talk, but...
She couldn't talk and she was going into surgery, and we had recommended suicidal precautions. We had recommended trauma-informed care so that she was getting the care that she needed. She was going to go into surgery. And then after that, we were going to continue to follow her and assess her and make sure that we were evaluating her appropriately and making recommendations to the surgical team for the care that she needed.
Objection.
So when you're dealing with this person that's going into surgery, did you know what type of surgery she was going in for?
At the time, we knew that she was going into surgery for her spine.
Did you know what happened with spine?
I knew that she had injuries to her spine.
Fascinating, right?
Transection injury, that her spine was basically exploded in T5,
I just want to say, I know that probably some people are annoyed that he keeps saying, so the when you met with her for 20 minutes, that's the whole point though. That's the only time they met with her. They met with her for 20 minutes to figure out what was going on with her psychologically. That is not enough time. He's a master at this. Yeah, he's giving a master class every day, Martha. You're absolutely right. All right, let's get back to it because I got to jump off here soon.
6 other thoracic vertebrae fractured, including the cervical vertebrae up by the throat. You knew all that?
We were reading about it. It was all actively happening at that time.
Was she in pain?
Yes, I'm sure she was.
Yeah.
Was she on medication?
Yes.
She was on a few medications related to pain and blood pressure.
So she's brought into the hospital. You knew from reviewing her records as a psychiatrist that in fact she coded the day before, right?
I don't recall her coding the day before I saw her. I do recall from the records that she had a coding event after, I think on the 27th or 28th.
Okay, so you were not involved with her when she coded. Did you know that she had any events of that nature right after she was brought from the South Shore Hospital?
I don't know what you're referring to.
You know what a code is, right?
Yes.
Did she almost die before you saw her?
I think it was after.
Okay. How about
Jesus.
perfusion, blood in the body and tubes being inserted into her chest? Did you know that from looking at the records?
I think that happened after, but I don't recall because I don't have the records on me.
Okay. So did you know that she had massive transfusions?
Not at that.
On this jury that it was after.
How
that
does she
saw
not
that
remember
she coded,
this?
Had transfusions, had double tubes put into her both sides of her lungs. Did you have testimony that it was after she saw you? You don't know, do you?
My understanding is the surgery happened after I saw her.
Oh, the surgery did. I'm asking you about the massive transfusions. I'm asking you about.
So just to clarify, I mean, I think you guys are probably getting this, but just for the audience who's listening to this and not watching, Reddington is saying this woman met with her for 20 minutes after Lindsay coded, after she died on the table and they had to bring her back. And then she started asking for a DNR because she didn't want that to happen again. And she had a massive blood transfusion. Remember what Rochelle, our favorite nurse, testified to. All the things she testified to witnessing the night that she was, like on with Lindsay that night. And that was within, I think, 24 hours of this incident. And this person comes in to give her a medical evaluation while she's intubated still, after all of these major events. And this woman is saying she can't recall that those events happened. This is horrific. This is horrific if this is what our psych system is right now in a major hospital like Brigham. It's crazy.
Tubes being inserted so that the 300 milligrams or whatever it is of blood can be perfused and taken out of her chest.
P.S. I just gifted 5 memberships. I just wanted to give back after Rachel gave that lovely tip of $227. So if you got a membership, let me know in the chat. And then also don't forget to renew your membership and come back tonight at 7:00 when I'm on with Ellen Marie Marsh.
I'm asking about whether or not you knew that she had coded. I'm not asking about the surgery. Obviously, that's
Yes.
after you saw her, right?
Yes.
Objection asked and answered.
No, overruled.
Because that's why you were talking to her, right? To see if she could
Thank
make
you,
an
Judge.
informed consent to a surgery, I guess.
No, I was called for the suicidal ideation.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said that you wanted to talk to her about the surgery as well.
No.
The suicidal ideation continues to this day, does it not?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did the suicidal ideation that you were concerned about continue the time that she was in? Bringing the woman
Thanks
back?
for subbing, Michelle.
I saw her one time.
Right, no, 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
So you know nothing about suicidal
One time.
ideation after you saw her intubated and then laying in the bed, and then you talked to her as you've discussed with the jury, right?
That's correct.
That's it.
That's correct.
How about the cops? How many cops were there?
I don't recall.
There were some, right? There were armed men in that room, were there not?
I don't recall. I think they were outside the room, if I remember correctly, from 3 years ago.
Okay, I know it's been a while. Do you recall armed police officers being outside the room?
I think I don't recall.
Do you have any memory of any police officers being outside the room where she was laying in that bed?
I knew she was in custody, and generally in custody.
No, not generally. Let's talk about Lindsay Clancy.
I can't recall.
Okay. Did you know that she couldn't even have visitors in the sense that the police would not even let her mother or father visit with her?
I can't recall.
Did you know that when you were dealing with her, was she handcuffed to the side of the gurney or the stretcher?
She had a soft restraint, according to my documentation.
Soft restraints, okay.
Yes.
Did you have any conversation with the police at all?
No.
And after you spoke to her for 20 minutes, that really ended your involvement with Lindsay Clancy until today, right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Doctor, when you were being asked about these records that you reviewed, what records did you review?
I reviewed the records in EPIC, which is our medical record at Brigham and Women's Hospital.
And so you didn't do a deep dive into Miss Clancy's entire psychiatric history.
That doesn't help you. That doesn't help you, prosecutor.
I did, as you do, as is protocol for a consult, you look at the records and you make sure you have an understanding of what's been happening with the patient.
But did you have access at that time to all the records for all the treatment providers Miss Clancy had seen regarding her mental health for the last 6 months?
You know, I don't even know.
Okay. What? Okay. Even I know, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a prosecutor. Even I know that if you have to ask your witness that question, this witness is useless to you, because you just put it on the record that this witness, this forensic psychiatrist who met with Lindsay Clancy for 20 minutes after she coded, after she had a massive blood transfusion, after she was intubated, who was writing on a whiteboard, and you don't have her full medical or psychiatric history, then what's the point? Does the prosecution not realize that they're sticking their foot in their mouth right here? I just don't understand it.
I had some of the records. I don't know if I had all of the records.
And so you reviewed what you had, correct?
Correct.
And then you met with the patient, correct?
Correct.
And in meeting with her, where she's, you know, she's had these events happen. She's had the tubes in her chest. She's about to go into surgery. One of the first things on her mind is, do I have a lawyer? Correct?
I mean, is that what you're trying to get out of this witness? That the first thing she said to you is, do I have a lawyer? I think that's a pretty good question in this situation. That's what the prosecution, that's the entire reason for this one witness. But that one thing does not outweigh all the bad she just did for their case. Yeah, she's making a good argument for the HR department that her job is redundant, in my opinion, says the Katie Co. I agree. They're looking for unicorns in corners, Mel. Yep. And Michelle, you can just call me Mel. My name is Mel Barrett. I am an investigative journalist and writer and the host, well, one of the hosts of this show. My co-host Rebecca is on vacation right now, and I will be back in about 50 minutes with Ellen Marie Marsh to do a members only live stream for you all tonight too. Yeah, what is the point of this witness? And I think she even knows, like, why am I here? What are we doing? Like, this is insane.
Counsel has tried to accentuate that. I'll allow that question.
Well, that was one of her first thoughts was, do I have a lawyer, correct?
She wasn't able, she was exhausted. She was intubated. She could barely talk. She was writing and she was getting ready for surgery. And so those were the few questions that came up.
Right. She's exhausted. She's anxious. She's in pain. She's about to go in for surgery. And she wants to know, do I have a lawyer?
Sustained.
It's not, it's not doing the thing that you want it to do, Bo Peep.
So given the condition she was in at that time, you know, the defense counsel asked you about the pain she was in. Defense counsel asked you about the surgery she was about to go into. Those are the issues that she was focused on. In your conversation with her, am I broken? Are my legs straight? Do I have a lawyer?
Yes.
Thank you.
She wasn't focused on much while she was exhausted, in pain, anxious, and concerned about the future surgery that she was imminent, was she?
If you could speak up, ask that question.
Sorry. She wasn't focused on much of anything while she was exhausted, in pain, unable to talk, and anticipating imminent surgery, right?
That's correct.
Thank you. That's all.
Ugh, that witness drove me nuts. I mean, I thought Kelly was bad, Kelly McDonough, the ER doctor. But this witness did not help the prosecution. They've called so many witnesses who have hurt their case. I just don't know what they're doing. They just seem like, I think they definitely went to the prosecutor school of Lally. You know what I mean? The Lally's prosecutor school. This is awful. They're so bad at their jobs. Okay. I've got to jump through these last. I'm gonna basically give you a breakdown of the last few witnesses because there wasn't a lot of cross on these witnesses. But the next person that we heard from was, hold on, sorry, Sergeant Robert Flynn with the Duxbury Police Department. So what we're doing with Flynn, I'm just going to take this off the screen because we're not going to need it anymore. Basically with Flynn, we're going back to the crime scene. This is what I was talking about before, the timeline and the way that these witnesses are being called. And Sergeant Flynn testified to basically doing the initial security sweep of 47 Summer Street, which is the Clancy residence. He described seeing untouched children's snack bowls on the couch, an open master bedroom window with the cold room with a draft from the air, Lindsay Clancy's cell phone on the bed, and matted snow under the window outside. No questions for Sergeant Flynn, because why do you need to? This is the same thing we've been hearing for 5 days. We are back at the crime scene and we are hearing the same thing we've already heard. And then next was Detective Mark Ferrulli. He testified to retrieving blood and urine samples from Lindsay at South Shore Hospital pursuant to a search warrant and delivering them to the crime lab. No cross-examination, because why do you need to, honestly? And then we heard from Trooper Leah O'Connell, who was Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab. Leah O'Connell testified to receiving and logging the 6 vials of blood and 1 vial of urine that Mark Ferrulli retrieved into the crime lab evidence system. No cross-examination, because why do you need to? And then Captain John Santos, he testified, he's with Massachusetts State Police again. He testified to searching the kitchen and basement at 47 Summer under a search warrant. He identified items seized from the kitchen cabinet, including the McLean Hospital discharge paperwork and an unfilled postpartum workbook. The book Good Moms Have Scary Thoughts, which we saw the other day. That was a journal that Lindsay was keeping, a breakdown of what she was experiencing on the meds, all the different meds that she was on a daily basis. I think that also hurt the prosecution. And he also found, John Santos found prescription meds in the house, which obviously, because she had been prescribed like 15 different meds over the course of a 4-month period. And then the final witness of that day. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me make sure that there was no cross on that. Oh, Reddington did get up on John Santos from Massachusetts State Police, and he pointed out that the police seized a bunch of items related to Lindsay's postpartum mental health, medical discharge records, and journals. And he also questioned Santos about pill bottles and prescription medication that was found in the home. And the final witness of day 5 was Trooper Corey Mello, who was also with Massachusetts State Police. Those bastards. He testified to reviewing Lindsay's personal journals. And this is the part that I did want to get to and play for y'all, because I think it's important. It tells you a lot about Lindsay's state of mind. And I don't know why the prosecution did this. It's not helping their case. I'll just say that. It's just not helping their case at all. We're at 6:31. Hold on. Okay, this is the last guy. Hold on, let me pull this back up. And
Direct an evidence officer to things that you thought might have some evidentiary value?
Yes.
At some point after the search warrant was over, you're aware a lot of items were brought back for example. Mm-hmm. Is it common that a lot of time can't really examine to review?
Okay, here's the journal.
If I may personally showing you an item. Is that familiar to you?
Yes, it is.
You didn't locate this that night, did you?
No, I did not.
But you had the opportunity to review the contents of it at a later date?
Correct.
And I just want to say this part might be difficult if you are a mom who has suffered postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis, or you're just a mom. There's nothing graphic in what's about to be read in court, but it is Lindsay's feelings and thoughts about taking care of Callum, her youngest, who she had just given birth to within the past year. So it might be hard to hear. I think it's important. I especially think it's important because of Reddington's cross in this situation. So we're going to listen to it.
I would move to admit this crime journal.
That may be admitted. Can I see you sidebar just for a second?
Somebody coughing their asses off. Stay
Now,
back.
the journal opens to the first page. There's no these handwritten entries. And at some point in this paragraph, it says, obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule like to the minute. It says, hearing him cry for 1+ hours and not intervening just about killed me. I even said the words, I want to die to Pat while he was crying. After that, I became obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule like to the minute.
Like, okay, so this is not helping them. If you remember from the opening statements, they tried to make it sound like Lindsay was a controlling mother who thought she was the only one who could take care of her kids. And they even say in the opening that she was so controlling that she tried to manage their sleep schedules to the minute. Anybody who is listening to what this woman is writing in her journal knows that this is an anxious mom who is suffering from something, and more than likely it's postpartum depression, and which I think eventually becomes psychosis. Why do these women not understand that this is not about being a controlling mom, that this is about depression and psychosis and anxiety? I think they're just being obtuse. I think they're just, it's disingenuous. They were like, this is what we have to go with. Let's go with it. And they're just like trying to convince this jury that this woman was just controlling. And that's why she did what she did. It's insane.
That's one of the entries you reviewed and noted.
Yes.
Page 2 says, I also feel like I did it wrong because I did it when he was overtired, so it made it harder. Now I have horrible insomnia and anxiety. You recall reviewing that in the journal.
She can't sleep and she has anxiety.
Page 4 of the journal says, why else I feel guilty? He's not really hitting his milestones. Again, that's a page that's not dated in this journal, correct?
Correct.
Page 8.
Also, what jury is going to hear these diary entries and think this woman didn't love her children? And that, like, who's going to think she didn't love her kids? That's all I hear is she even says she's desperate to go back to work, but she's terrified to go back to work. Like, who is listening to this and thinking, oh yeah, she did this because she's so controlling. She just wanted to get rid of everybody because she was sick of it. What I hear is a mom who is a woman, not just a mom, but a woman who is so anxious about making sure that everyone is taken care of, including Patrick, that it's causing her immense anxiety and she's overwhelmed and she doesn't know how to handle this, and she's not getting the help that she needs. I don't hear a woman who needs to control everybody and everything in her life. These prosecutors are dumbasses if they think that the jury is going to hear that too.
I'm completely overwhelmed trying to take care of the 3 kids. I feel like I'm drowning every day. Again, another page that's not dated.
Correct.
At some point, there are some dated pages in this journal, fair to say, right?
Yes.
And there's one on November 18th. And November 18th, that page reads, it's like I'm so desperate to get a mental break from taking care of everyone that my mind is trying to make something physically wrong with me. You recall reviewing that in the journal?
Yes.
There you go.
Now, in addition to the Brown journal, when you were back at the office, you also had the occasion to review some of the other journals collected, right?
Correct.
This journal I'm holding up, exhibit number 147, is that familiar to you?
Yes.
And again, this is a journal that has handwritten notes in it, very similar to the handwriting in the Brown journal you reviewed.
Yes.
And fair to say, the entries in this notebook only span a few pages and only go from October 13th as the first entry and the last one being January 18th, correct?
Correct.
So October 15th is about a month into her being bounced around to different meds. It went on for 4 months until the incident that happened with the children. So this is a month into her being prescribed medications.
Okay. And this third journal that you reviewed after the search warrant, exhibit number 50, the yellow journal with Callan Clancy's name on it. You recall that?
Yes, I do.
And you are aware Callan Clancy was one of the children.
Yes.
And in this instance, did you see similar handwriting from the other 2 journals that you reviewed?
Yes, I believe there was 2 separate.
Okay. At some point in this these entries, you began to notice there were other handwriting.
Correct.
At the time you were looking at this, did you know who the other handwriting was?
At the time,
Who
no.
it belonged to? Okay. And fair to say, reviewing the contents of it, it's a pretty detailed list of a schedule for the baby.
Correct.
It's to the nanny. Okay. This is the important part.
One of the things that the district attorney did was read to you certain entries from what is referred to in your report as the Tree of Life Artisan Journal, correct?
Correct.
And when you refer in the report to the Tree of Life Artisan Journal, is that this here? What do you call
The-
Tree of Life
Kevin, get on the mic.
feelings dealing with her children. Is that fair?
It's fair to say, yes, sir.
And you wrote in your report on page 19 of 63, counsel asked you first about her stating that she had horrible PTSD from sleep training Callan. Hearing him cry for 1 hour plus and not intervening just about killed me. I even said the words, "I want to die" to Pat while he was crying. He would be the baby, right?
Correct.
And this is her saying that not being able to go to her child because they were trying to do sleep training, she indicated that it was just about killing her, correct?
That's what was stated, yes.
And after that, I, meaning Lindsay, became obsessed with his sleep and nap schedule. Like to the minute, I would tell Laney, and you know who Laney is, right?
Yes.
Who's Laney?
The other child.
The what?
No.
I'm sorry again. Just
Laney.
Laney.
Laney. L-A-N-E-Y, Laney.
Don't recall this time.
Do you recall that she had
The
a
nanny.
young lady, or they had a young lady that was in their home helping with the baby while she was
I
supposed
don't
to?
recall this time.
Okay. That she would tell Laney to put him down at 10:36. I would also drive him around for car naps for hours every day, feeling guilty for doing this to my baby. Do you recall making that notation?
Yes.
Awful.
I also feel guilty we did it too young, parenthesis, 1 week shy of 4 months, end parenthesis, right?
Correct.
You also noted in your report that I also, quote, "I also feel like I did it wrong because I did it when he was overtired, so I made it harder. I now have horrible insomnia and anxiety, which is causing depression. I have no appetite. I don't know what's wrong with me. I want help. I want to be well." You saw
Ugh.
that in there, didn't you?
Yes.
Evan.
And then she went on and said, "I think the anxiety started after sleep training. The doctor said it was okay to let him cry. I need to get a good night's sleep and take care of him, rocking him to sleep every nap in bed in the middle of the night." She noted that, right?
Yes.
Noting further, on separate occasion, he's still a very happy baby despite his sleep training. Why I feel guilty is not really hitting his milestones, not rolling over, although he almost is, exclamation point, and he's babbling, which is a new milestone. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
She wrote, "I have crazy brain fog. I feel like I can't make a plan. I can't carry it out. Like I just live moment to moment, waiting for the next nap time. I'm terrified of Cal getting overtired now because I feel I can't help him." She wrote that, right?
Correct.
She then wrote, "I'm really worried about going back to work and not being able to function with the brain fog. I feel like I should start with a 4-hour shift and see how I do. I can't tell if I am withdrawing from Ativan and Benadryl or is this my new baseline. I feel completely disconnected with my baby. I feel like I'm going through the motions every day." She wrote that, right?
Correct.
And there were a number of other entries that you put in your police report about that. One of which was that I feel horribly guilty about my marriage. I want to connect with Pat again. I know he needs it. I need it. I'm terrified because I'm terrified of the relationship. She needs to get birth control first. She made reference to her inability to have conjugal relations with her husband, right?
I believe so.
She indicated further on into her travels, "I am completely overwhelmed trying to take care of the kids. I'm drowning every day. I feel guilty that I'm spending my family's money and not making any. I feel like I spend way too much." She wrote that, right?
Correct.
I'm terrified of Callan getting sick. He's a sick baby. A sick baby is miserable. He's sick now with a double ear infection. Clearly has a bellyache. It's miserable. I feel like the other kids are going to get him sick all winter long. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
I always feel strongly against sleep training. I feel like it's abusive
so
to let the
good.
baby cry and not respond. But I made the decision. I did it with Cal. There's way too much crying. It's incredibly stressful. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
He's okay. He will be okay. It's not harmful in any way. The doctor said it was okay. Plenty of people sleep train their kids at that age. It's necessary as a third child, is what she wrote, right?
Correct.
I feel incredibly sad and guilty about not breastfeeding anymore. That was the one thing I could do to help his immune system, and I can tell he really doesn't like the formula. I'm very sad about this. I know at this time it's what I needed to do for my mental health. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
And then the statement started getting smaller and smaller as time went by. One occasion, it's like I'm desperate to get a mental break from taking care of everyone. My mind is trying to make something physically wrong with me. My mind never shuts off. It's constantly thinking of the next thing someone needs. I can't shut it off. I desperately want to go back to work, but now I don't know how I'm going to function, and it worries me. Wrote that, right?
Correct.
There were 2 pages that were blank that she didn't even write on. And then on the third entry, affirmations. She wrote affirmations. On November 22nd of 2022, "I am calm. I will remain calm today. There is nothing that needs to be on my mind. The weight is lifted from my mind. I will sleep tonight." She wrote that, right?
Correct.
Continuing on into November, "I slept well last night. I will sleep again tonight. Today will be a great day. I will go back to work on Sunday. I will thrive. I can feel like myself again." That was November 23rd. She wrote that, right?
I believe that's a day, yes.
Gratitude. "I'm grateful for Sue, who's always listening." That'd be a mother-in-law. You knew that, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful to Sue for always listening and trying her best to help me. Kids are sleeping great for Pat. Pat is handling nighttime stuff. Julie for making a plan for me. A big thing is I feel disconnected with myself. Time, reality. I think going back to work will help with that. She wrote that, right?
Correct.
And then there are numbers of pages, 22 of 63.
Okay, I don't think we need to go on anymore with that, but it was a strong ending to the day. I love Kevin Reddington and how passionate he is about this case and what's going on with this woman. And all I hear is a mom who was trying so hard to take care of everybody. And she was, falling deeper and deeper into anxiety, depression, possibly bipolar, and eventually postpartum psychosis. And people weren't helping her and they weren't listening to her. The only people who were listening to her were her family members, her husband, her mother-in-law, her parents. The medical industry in Massachusetts failed this woman. And as a result, 3 children are no longer with us. And she is paralyzed and will live with this for the rest of her life. Whether she's in jail or she's not in jail, she is in a wheelchair and she will be living with this for the rest of her life, what she did. And it's awful. It's awful. But that being said, I'm glad that we're covering it. I'm glad that we are handling it in a way so that it's a little bit more palatable so that we can understand the legal process here and not have to go through and sit through all the gory details of what happened to these poor children. Because in my opinion, again, this case is not about that. She has already admitted to that. It is about whether she was sane at the moment she committed that act. And that's where I'm trying to stay with all of this coverage. On that note, I have to be back on in a half an hour. And I have a couple of things to do to get ready for the next show. So I will be back for members only at 7 p.m. with Ms. Ellen Marie Marsh from I Think Not, Shut the Fuck Up, Nick Lachey, and the Rundown, the True Crime Rundown. And we are going to have a blast. We're probably going to talk about Whitney Houston, which is, I know that sounds strange, but Ellen's sort of an expert on Whitney Houston's unaliving. So I'm going to go take a break for like half an hour, 35 minutes, and I will be back with you at 7 p.m. Please don't forget to like the video on your way out of the room and tip your server if you're feeling it. I appreciate y'all. We're doing some work on these cases and you are helping us get through and keep the lights on. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you all for being so passionate about this case and for engaging in a constructive, kind way. That's all I'll say about that. All right, y'all. Have a good one. I will see you in a half an hour with Ellen Marsh. Good morning, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, allegedly. I'm smart.
Happy Monday, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie. Happy gay summer, Mel.
Happy hump day, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm not humping anybody. I'm Rebecca Lavoie.
Happy Saturday, everybody. I am Mel Barrett. Oh, no.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie and my mic is muted.
Good morning, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie and that's Briscoe.
And welcome to Something's Off, a true crime podcast where we swat the haters aside with our astute takes and humor and joy. And
the joylessness
I don't
of
give
those
a fucking
people.
miss.
Hags.
You hear it first in the break in the story. One little crack and the whole thing gets wary. A witness swears but the timeline bends. A smile too smooth and the trail just ends. Mel Barrett says, hold up, look again. Rebecca Lavoie follows every thread. If it feels too neat, then it's not the truth. There's a shadow line running through the room. Something's off, something's off. You can feel it in the bones. Something's off, something's off. When the facts won't come home. Something's off, something's off. And the case won't stay in place. Something's off. We're the ones who chase.
This is
Pull it,
literally
Jimmy.
because it's 100. It's been happening for the past day.
Oh, dear God. Everywhere's a hot spot when Dr. Wolf was on the TV. Am I right? Everywhere's a hot spot when Dr. Wolf is on the TV. I'm sorry. This is very funny.
What are you laughing about?
Because you're just sitting there waiting for the video to start.
I was listening this whole time. You
listening to what? You're not playing anything, and now you're frozen. God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me text Mel. Let me call Mel real quick. I'm gonna call Mel.
No, I'm not answering your call. I'm not doing it.
I don't think.
Why is it? Oh, Jesus.
Maybe go back on the Wi-Fi.
I am back on the Wi-Fi. Can you hear me now? Should we do the show now? Should we do the show now? Rebecca? Rebecca, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Internet. Hello.
Hello? Hello, worldwide interwebs. Can you hear me? Let's do this. I have to look at my phone over here.
We're gonna go members only.
We're the ones who chase. Yeah, we're the ones who chase. Wait, did that witness just blink 3 times? Something's off.